Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. I'm in American comics, I pursue eternity with super god technology. Chapter 1. Super Gene System Matching is on. Judgment. The first generation of super genes has been adapted. Gene Attribute. Infinite Fit. Starting the Level 1 adaptation, granting an invincible body. Big Clock Data Start, Execute Distribution Program. These voices echoed in Wu Chen's mind. The allocation procedure is completed, the super gene system is officially launched. When these words fell, Wu Chen immediately felt that Chaos's original thinking began to become clear. He saw his figure, appearing in a strange space. Everything around it looks just like the dark matter plane of Zhe Xiaolun in the cartoon of the Super Seminary. Welcome to your dark matter genetic plane. It was the same voice, echoing in the surrounding space. Dark matter gene plane. Is this the one from the seminary? Wu Chen asked. Yes, I am your super genetic system. The voice replied. I'm going, there are super soldiers in the real world. This is not the real world. Not the real world. Wu Chen was a little confused and wanted to look around, but right now, he couldn't see anything outside. This is the MCU universe, as you understand it, the Marvel movie universe. The super gene system replied. Marvel movie universe. So, I've crossed over. Wu Chen finally understood this time. He hung up in the real world, then traveled to this world and got Goldfinger. Super Gene System, how is this very similar to a book I wrote before? Since it's time travel, then you should count it as my plugin, but the question is, how can this plugin be used? Sir, your plugin is not me, but it. The voice of the genetic system fell, and in front of Wu Chen, a huge amount of clock had appeared. The big clock. Yes, your plugin is exactly this big clock. The most powerful astronomical computer. In a sense, yes. Just this big clock, nothing else. Wu Chen asked. Only the big clock, but in the big clock, the data of all other astronomical computers are included. Other celestial computers, House of Sacred Knowledge, Space-Based Computing Group, Small Clock, Chenkin, Tiandao Pagoda, etc. Meaning, all the technologies in the super seminary are in this big clock. Wu Chen was slightly excited. Yes, the gene system answered and opened the corresponding operation interface at the same time. There, various system data are displayed. From the first generation of super genes to the fourth generation of gods. From angel gene to trigonoid gene code. From flame class weapons to void class concept weapons. Really, all the things and technologies that have appeared in the super seminary are here. Eternal. Suddenly, Wu Chen saw two large golden characters carved on the big clock. I think, this is what the big clock gave you, right? Said the super gene system. Perhaps, this is also the task I gave myself. Wu Chen murmured. Only those who have experienced death will understand the meaning of life. Before he crossed over, that is, at the moment when he was about to die, the biggest obsession in his heart was to live. Therefore, he traveled here, and the word, eternal, is engraved on the big clock. Chasing eternity, in this MCU universe with supernatural technology, it is not easy to achieve this goal. His plugin only has a big clock, and the first generation of super genes that are adapted at this moment. That is to say, every step forward after that actually requires Wu Chen to research and develop by himself. Although, in the big clock, the related technology has already been recorded. The super gene system also strengthened Wu Chen himself. However, this still takes time. Moreover, only the existing supernatural technology is recorded in the big clock, and these alone are not enough to achieve true eternity. Only living can be eternal. And the MCU, originally, is a world where you can die at any time. Pull consciousness back from the dark matter plane. Wu Chen opened his eyes, he saw everything in front of him. War is raging all around, and there are countless aliens attacking in all directions. In the sky, huge amounts of wormholes are opening. Those aliens are constantly flying out from that wormhole. It turned out to be the invasion of the Chitauri Legion. Wu Chen looked at everything in front of him, and already understood the environment he was in at the moment. This is the battleground of the Avengers Alliance, the final battle of New York. Chitauri fell from the sky, and the Avengers were on their way. Right now, there is only one Iron Man on the battlefield. System, can I adapt Angel's super gene? Wu Chen asked. Your genes are an infinite fit and can be adapted to all genes. The genetic system answered. Then, activate the angel gene for me immediately. Wu Chen said, and the super gene system, and the big clock behind it that provided computing support, began to operate. Adapt the angel gene and start the activation program. Successful adaptation, successful opening. The voice of the super gene system fell, and behind Wu Chen, a pair of white wings appeared. System, do you have armor and weapons? Wu Chen asked. No, the system's answer is simple and clear. Really, I have nothing but the big clock. Wu Chen complained, but his movements were not slow. This is the battlefield of the Great War of New York, where there is a form invasion and there is a superhero. But Wu Chen's goal is not to be a so-called superhero. What he wanted was those 2 infinite gems. The secret of immortality lies in having the strength to be immortal. The current Wu Chen's strength is still too weak, he needs to rely on the power of the outside world. And in the Marvel movie universe, by far the most powerful force is the infinite gems. Stark quickly noticed Wu Chen's appearance in the steel battle suit. He saw Wu Chen, who spread his wings and went straight to the Stark building. Where did that guy come from? Stark wanted to fly over to find out. But at the moment, all of the Chitauri have Stark as their target and keep following. There are also many Chitauri, which flank Stark from the side. Wu Chen's super gene system has already noticed Stark's condition. But now Wu Chen doesn't care about Stark. Tesseract is on and I can't hack its delivery program. The genetic system reports. Then only, get him first. Wu Chen's eyes fell on Loki. At the moment Loki, holding a scepter, is walking on the balcony. When he saw Wu Chen, Loki looked a little surprised. In the information I have, there is no superhero like you. Loki said, that's because I wasn't a superhero in the first place. Wu Chen landed in front of Loki. Not superhero. Loki looked at Wu Chen and the wings behind him with interest. Then what are you going to do when you come to me at this time? Loki asked. I want the scepter in your hands. Wu Chen got straight to the point. Hearing his words, Loki's face darkened immediately. The scepter, this is the weapon that Loki got from Thanos, and it works great. Wu Chen had just appeared, and he opened his mouth to take the scepter, which was like declaring war on him. Who do you think you are? To say such things to God? Loki's body showed armor, and he was ready for battle. On the battlefield, Rogers, Natasha Romanoff and Hawkeye have all arrived. And Thor, the super genetic system has locked his place, and he's coming at breakneck speed. Time waits for no one. Once the Avengers are all assembled, it will be extremely difficult for Wu Chen to get the psychic scepter and tesseract. Since you don't want to, then I'll grab it directly. After speaking, Wu Chen has rushed towards Loki. The first generation of super warriors, perhaps in terms of physical data, is not as good as Loki of the Aesir Protoss. But there is a big clock behind Wu Chen. That is the most powerful celestial computer in the super god universe. Wu Chen's shot was extremely fast, and the angle was tricky, so Loki didn't have time to dodge. If he didn't dodge, it meant he took a punch from Wu Chen. This punch is not powerful enough to kill an Aesir god race. But the impact was enough to make Loki fly upside down. Under the pain, his hand holding the scepter relaxed a lot, and Wu Chen also took advantage of the short gap to grab the scepter directly. I didn't expect it to be a tough one. Loki got up from the ground, but he was clearly unconvinced. For him, Wu Chen's punch was no big deal. However, when he imagined that duplication wanted to sneak attack Wu Chen from behind, Wu Chen directly backhanded another punch and smashed his temple hard. When Loki thought he could make a sneak attack, Wu Chen's counterattack was so timely and precise. The temple was hit hard, and this time the effect was much stronger than the last. Loki endured the excruciating pain and rolled 2 meters away. He covered his temple with one hand and supported the ground with the other. This is impossible. Loki's face was full of disbelief. Your stealth tricks may work for others, but they are of no use to me. Wu Chen said, my illusion is impeccable, even Thor can't see through, how can you see through? Loki couldn't believe it, he had already activated the illusion again when he said this. But all this was already under Wu Chen's control. The Eye of Insight can see things that are invisible to the naked eye. Loki's illusion is just to create an illusion and then hide his body, confuse the opponent through the illusion, and then launch a sneak attack on his body. Therefore, for Wu Chen, who can see the dark matter plane, this trick is useless. Slap backhand. This slap landed on Loki's face, but it hit Loki's heart. Loki collapsed. His best trick, in front of Wu Chen, was decoration. A god who claims to be aloof, is suddenly crushed so easily by a mortal, and his self-confidence suffers a serious blow. At the critical moment, Thor came. He landed opposite Loki and Wu Chen. Looking at Loki, who was knocked to the ground, and Wu Chen, who he had never seen before, he was a little confused. Who are you? Thor asked. Wu Chen, why haven't I seen you? There are so many people on Earth, and you haven't seen a few in total, have you? Wu Chen's rhetorical question made Thor unable to answer for a while. He has only come to Earth twice, the first time in a small town and the second time here. There are really not many people Thor has come into contact with on Earth. You don't look like an Earthling. Thor looked at the wings behind Wu Chen. If you want to say that I'm not an ordinary person on this Earth, that's barely reasonable. Wu Chen is indeed neither from this Earth nor an ordinary person. The war is raging on all sides, are you sure you want to continue to waste time here? Wu Chen asked. So, are you here to help? Thor is a simple person. Seeing Wu Chen's reminder, he also came to help Wu Chen. That's it. Wu Chen did not deny it. Okay, then, let's get Loki, what about the others? Thor remembered Loki, but he was about to look for it, only to find that Loki was long gone. When you were talking, he had already fled. Wu Chen said. I have to find him, only he can end this war. After Thor finished speaking, he swung the hammer and flew away. Wu Chen looked at all the Avengers who had gradually gathered, watching them fighting Chitauri. Loki's scepter is already in Wu Chen's hands, which means he can close the portal. But when he took a step and was about to go to take it with the space gem, a strong mental energy swept in instantly. Wu Chen didn't have time to dodge, he was covered by this spiritual energy. Around him, all circumstances have changed. There is only one person in the entire Earth who can do this. Sorcerer Supreme. Wu Chen raised his head. Not far in front of him, Ancient One was looking at him. So, you know me. Ancient One is also looking at Wu Chen. I haven't had an intersection with you. It doesn't seem reasonable for you to meet me in this way at this time, doesn't it? Wu Chen asked. You and I have no intersection, but you are a mystery that I can't see through. Ancient One at the moment, has come to Wu Chen. Can you see through everyone in this world? Wu Chen asked back. You're not like everyone else. Ancient One said. Then what are you going to do? Take me and lock me up. Wu Chen is testing. I won't arrest you, but I have something to discuss with you. I don't know if you are willing to listen. Ancient One's attitude is not strong. Tell me, I can't beat you now anyway. Wu Chen clearly meant that he didn't want to listen, but he couldn't beat it, so he had to listen. Ancient One is a smart man, and he naturally understands what Wu Chen means. But Sorcerer Supreme, who has lived for hundreds of years, has never seen what kind of situation. This scepter, and the following tesseract, have their own missions to complete. You mean, let me not take them now? Wu Chen didn't let Ancient One speak his mind. He knew that, with the Ancient One here today, he couldn't take the infinite gems. But he also explained what he said. Today, he may not take it, but he will still take it in the future. You are a very clever man. Ancient One exclaimed. You flatter me. Wu Chen said modestly. These two things will also create new life, so you can't take them as your own until this new life is created. Ancient One spoke, and she was clearly speaking of Ultron and Vision. Wu Chen knew, and the Ancient One must have known through Time Gem. Okay, then according to what you said, I won't touch these two things until the new life is created. Wu Chen said. Seeing that his purpose had been achieved, Ancient One withdrew all his spiritual energy with a wave of his hand. The energy was withdrawn, and Wu Chen returned to the real world. Here, the war has entered another stage. The Avengers are in a hard fight, the nuclear warhead is already on the way, and Black Widow also knows from Dr. Shawig the way to close the portal. Big clock, reset the time of the nuclear bomb explosion. Wu Chen said, spread his wings and came to Black Widow. I'll close this portal. After that, Wu Chen put the scepter directly into the teleportation device. The portal was closed directly, Chitauri was locked in outer space, and those on Earth were also paralyzed because they could not communicate with the headquarters. What are you doing? Black Widow is anxious because she has just received a message from Stark that a nuclear bomb is coming. If the portal is closed in advance, the nuclear bomb will have nowhere to go, and the entire Manhattan Island will be razed to the ground. Don't you want to end the war? I'll help you. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he casually threw the scepter on the ground. Mind your own business, pump him for me, Romanov agent. Stark was really angry. He was carrying the nuclear bomb and didn't know what to do. You want to start? Wu Chen turned his head to look at Black Widow. Black Widow was also very angry, but she felt an invisible pressure. This pressure comes from Wu Chen, which makes Black Widow understand that he is not Wu Chen's opponent, and once he does it, it is likely to cause unexpected disasters. I just want to know, what's your purpose in doing this? Black Widow asked. You'll find out if you look down. Wu Chen was locked, and at the same time, Stark had appeared. He was under that nuclear missile, and he was trying to redirect the missile and send it into space. But now, he didn't know where to send the missile. Just when everyone was at a loss, when everyone was close to despair, the missile suddenly stopped. The missile stopped its flight and fell toward the ground. Stark froze in place with a bewildered look on his face. He didn't understand what happened to the missile. The missile detonation procedure was terminated. JARVIS reports to Stark promptly. It was terminated. Once the nuclear bomb program was started, how could it be stopped midway? Stark asked. It's an ultra-advanced algorithm that terminates the program, and I don't understand it. JARVIS replied. Super advanced algorithms. Stark repeated, and then he seemed to react. The mutation of the whole incident started with the appearance of Wu Chen. Wu Chen closed the portal, disrupting Stark's plans. Once the nuclear bomb explodes, the entire Manhattan will be destroyed. Wu Chen is also in the core circle of the explosion. It is impossible for him to ignore his own safety. Therefore, the person most likely to terminate the nuclear explosion process is Wu Chen. But the question now is, how did he do it? Carrying the nuclear bomb, it landed on the balcony of the Stark building. How on earth did you just terminate the nuclear bomb's detonation procedure? Stark came to Wu Chen. I just gave the computer an instruction. Wu Chen said. Computer? What kind of computer can stop the explosion of a nuclear bomb in such a short period of time? Stark is a genius, and he has always been confident that he is the best scientist on the planet. JARVIS is definitely at the top level in the field of artificial intelligence and computer, but JARVIS is completely powerless in the face of this situation. You don't need to know what computer. Wu Chen didn't plan to say too much to him. This nuclear bomb belongs to me, and I also borrow some equipment in your Stark building. Wu Chen said. In the wave of his hand, the nuclear bomb disappeared directly. Moving through the micro wormhole, he took some of the things he could use in the Stark building straight away. You dare to move my things before I agree. Stark was initially surprised by the disappearance of the missile, but he soon realized that Wu Chen was taking what belonged to him. I closed the portal for you and stopped the nuclear bomb explosion for you. It shouldn't be too much to thank you for something like this, right? Wu Chen said, and then directly opened his wings and flew into the air. Let's go, you don't have to say thank you. Wu Chen didn't give Stark a chance to speak. He turned around and flew out to sea. He was going to find a suitable island and use it as a base for his next stay. Stark stood there, watching Wu Chen's retreating back, not knowing what to do for a while. Hulk, Thor, Barton and Rogers all came. The 6 people of the original Avengers, at the moment all stand together. That was a nuclear bomb. He just took it away like that. There won't be any problems, right? Rogers asked. The problem is definitely a problem, but the problem now is that there is no way we can stop it. Black Widow said. Why can't you stop it? Rogers asked. He didn't do it at all. The missile disappeared out of thin air. Moreover, he could stop the nuclear bomb from detonating, which means that he could also make the nuclear bomb explode directly. Black Widow is a top-level agent, and she analyzed this situation very well. Let's do the things in front of you first. As Stark said, he turned and walked into the house. This time, the incident was mainly aimed at Loki. No matter what happened to Wu Chen, it was just an episode. Moreover, all of them didn't know how to face Wu Chen, who suddenly appeared. Wu Chen, who left the Stark building, went directly to the sea. He needs to find a stronghold where he can concentrate on researching supernatural technology. Without the Mind Gem and Space Gem, Wu Chen would be missing two powerful weapons. Therefore, Wu Chen must first create a batch of weapons, and finally be able to create the flame level, god-killing or even stronger weapons in the Super Seminary. In the Marvel movie universe, in such a chaotic world, Wu Chen's pursuit of eternity must first keep himself alive. In a line of the swordsman Lu, it is, the key to immortality is not to die. And if you want to not die, you must allow yourself to have enough power to resist all threats. Originally, he was going to start directly with infinite gems. In the Marvel movie universe, infinite gems are the most powerful weapons. Those who master any infinite gems are the powerhouses in the universe. As a traveler, Wu Chen knows all the information about infinite gems, and he can collect more. But now, the Ancient One has stepped in. The two gems of mind and space have been lost. The time gem is in the hands of the Ancient One. The three gems of soul, strength, and reality are not on Earth. As the first generation of super soldier Wu Chen, he has no way to enter the universe, and he has no way to find those three gems. Therefore, the current Wu Chen can only rely entirely on the super god technology originally. There are no shortcuts, so start with the basics. Build weapons, upgrade gods, and master more super god technology. The entire system of Chaoshan technology is so huge that Wu Chen now does not even have the foundation. Once he can learn all the techniques recorded in the big clock. Once he is adapted to the genetic ability of all super warriors. Once he builds a weapon above the god-killing level. Well, even without infinite gems, he would still be the powerhouse of the level universe. Moreover, after possessing the divine body, Wu Chen can achieve theoretical eternity and jump out of the limit of lifespan. At that time, it really is, as long as there is no accident, he will not die if the universe is destroyed. It's a pity that Wu Chen wanted to concentrate on R&D, but others didn't plan to reassure him. Just as Wu Chen was transforming the island he had chosen, a Quinjet drove over. The person who came out of the fighter plane was S.H.I.E.L.D. Director Nick Fury. My house hasn't been built yet, so I don't have time to greet guests. Wu Chen did not look back and continued his construction project. If you lack a house to live in, I can arrange it for you. Fury said. It's still built by myself, and it's more practical to live in. Wu Chen replied. But you have to know that this is owned by the government, not your private land. Fury came behind Wu Chen. Then you can buy it for me. Anyway, you originally planned to give me a house, didn't you? Well, if you need it, I can arrange it for you. That's it, Wu Chen said, and at the same time, a marble pillar with a height of 4 meters appeared in front of him out of thin air. Recently, we have received a lot of information, saying that many building materials factories, their building materials have disappeared inexplicably. You saw it all, it's all here. Wu Chen didn't intend to hide it either, he really got it from the best building materials companies in the world. You are theft. So, are you coming to arrest me for jail? Wu Chen turned his head. The marble, at the moment, also fell, and broke into several pieces. I know that you are a super ability person with powers that ordinary people don't have. Fury looked a little unhappy. But you have to know that this is the human world. Since you want to stand in this world, you have to abide by our laws. Law, it's just to restrict you, what's with me? Then you mean, you're going to challenge our laws? Fury's face darkened even more. I don't plan to challenge anyone, but don't try to provoke me. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he turned around and continued his construction work. By moving the required building materials from all over the place for the impulse, and completing the construction with the help of the big clock, this is Wu Chen's busy project now. Build a house of his own. If you don't ask for it, this is stealing, and now you have no regrets. Isn't it deliberately provoking the laws of our country? Fury resisted the urge to do it. He didn't want to conflict with a super ability person for such a trivial matter. What does the law of your country have to do with me? The laws of the world do not allow theft. Fury added. Okay, then you go check it out. For those who have taken things from me, if they have all the money from legitimate income, I will compensate them. Is this the head office? Wu Chen didn't want to entangle with Fury. After placing the new marble column, he walked into the room with a rough outline and began to build the interior. Fury, who stayed where he was, thought about Wu Chen's last words. After a while, he picked up his mobile phone and sent a message to the Hill agent at headquarters. Soon, Fury got the reply he wanted. All the companies investigated by S.H.I.E.L.D., those companies whose building materials or other things mysteriously disappeared, have frauds in their books. Moreover, what they lost was worth the money they illicitly gained. In other words, Wu Chen knew all this for a long time, so he did this. It takes a lot of time for an agent organization as large as S.H.I.E.L.D. to find approximate data. Wu Chen is alone. How did he achieve this level? There is also previous intelligence from Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, that Wu Chen relied on an algorithm to stop the nuclear bomb from detonating. That is to say, Wu Chen's ability may not come from some kind of mutant super ability, but some kind of technology that S.H.I.E.L.D. does not know about. If a person has super ability, that may be a threat. But if a person has advanced and unknown technology, it may be a disaster. Hulk's fighting power is stronger than Stark, but if Stark is out of control like Hulk, it will be more scary. Because Hulk is always a person, and Stark, but can build an army of steel. Before coming, Fury thought he was going to face a super ability person. But now it seems that he is facing another Stark. Also, this is a tougher guy than Stark. I don't know the identity details. Don't know the purpose of the action. You can't even tell the difference between friend and foe. You should be very clear about the real purpose of my coming here today. Fury walked into the house and said to Wu Chen, who was busy. Isn't it just to see if I'm an enemy or a friend? Wu Chen said. So, are you an enemy or a friend? Fury asked seriously. Not an enemy, nor a friend. Wu Chen continued. If you don't provoke me, I won't provoke you. I just want to do my research quietly. Wu Chen said. An operating platform suddenly appeared in front of him. Research. What are you doing with the nuclear bomb? The real purpose of Fury's coming here today was to aim at that nuclear bomb. It was a nuclear bomb that could destroy the entire Manhattan Island, and now, he was in the hands of Wu Chen alone. Didn't you throw the nuclear bomb? Since you don't want it anymore, I'll use it for waste, isn't it okay? Wu Chen said, and finally did not forget to add a sentence. If it wasn't for me at the time, it seems that the entire Manhattan area would be in ruins now, right? It is true that you saved Manhattan Island, but the congressmen still had doubts when they learned that you took the unexploded nuclear bomb. The brain grows on your head. I can't control what you like to think. But you just hand it over. Sorry, the nuclear bomb is gone. Gone. Fury looked a little surprised. I've disassembled the nuclear warhead. Wu Chen said. That's a nuclear warhead. If you want to decompose it, you need very rigorous steps. Hear you. Rigidity. Rigorousness is required only when the technology is backward. I don't need it. Wu Chen said, his right hand raised, and a golden ball of light appeared in his hand. He took the nuclear bomb in order to activate the genetic sequence of the light of the sun. Now, Wu Chen has mastered the ability of sunlight, that is, fixed star energy drive. Sir, we have detected a thermonuclear reaction here. The voice of the Hill agent came. S.H.I.E.L.D., who has been monitoring the site, apparently detected the emergence of a nuclear reaction. The 1st to 3rd squads, attack immediately. Don't panic, everyone is holding me back. This time, Fury was in a hurry. He hurriedly sent a message to the Hill agent, and all the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who had been ambushing around the island, at the moment all retreated. This is a nuclear bomb rubbed with bare hands. In Fury's eyes, Wu Chen, at the moment, is far more threatening than that nuclear warhead. They even sent troops. Do you want me to return this to you? Wu Chen said. The ball of light in his hand was sent directly to Fury. The scorching temperature radiated out, and Fury could already feel the horror of the light ball. If you let this thing explode, everything around you will be destroyed. The most important thing is Wu Chen originally. He can rub the nuclear bomb with his bare hands, which means that he may not be afraid of the explosive impact of the nuclear bomb at all. Here today, Wu Chen used this thing, so in the future he will probably use this thing in other places in order to retaliate. Don't worry, although this is a small flare, the explosive power is definitely comparable to your nuclear bomb. Wu Chen said with relief. Small, you mean you can make a bigger one? Fury panics even more. You want something bigger? Wu Chen said, the light ball in his hand doubled in size in an instant. No, we don't need it. Fury shook his head quickly. Let's put it away quickly. Fury reminded that he was afraid that Wu Chen would detonate this thing. Wu Chen put away the solar flare. But his actions have already brought great shock and fear to Fury. The nuclear bomb, just a weapon built by humans, can make the world talk about it. But now, Wu Chen alone is a walking nuclear arsenal. Do these abilities of yours really come from science? Seeing that the danger was lifted, Fury adjusted. This is super god technology. Wu Chen replied, and a huge amount of projection appeared on the console. That is the projection of the Earth simulated by the big clock, and all the information of the entire Earth is now on it. As Wu Chen's fingers slid, the projection began to expand. In the end, the projected picture landed on the island where Wu Chen was at the moment. Around the island, the hidden location of each SHIELD agent, including its weapon configuration and personal information, is clear. Fury had just been shocked by Wu Chen's solar flare, and now he was shocked again when he saw this projection. As far as intelligence is concerned, SHIELD can be said to be the most powerful intelligence agency on Earth, and they can find almost everyone's information. However, like Wu Chen, he knows everything in a wave of his hand, which is obviously impossible for SHIELD. My big clock has been collecting all the information data on this Earth. Wu Chen said, the information on these agents is very strange. How come there are so many that show the mark of Hydra? When Wu Chen said this, the agents marked with Hydra and their information materials all appeared in the most obvious position. Fury, who was originally in shock, looked at the information with a pale face. Hydra, the sworn enemy of SHIELD. Project Insight, Zola algorithm. It's because others haven't broken the law yet. Just by saying that you might commit a crime, you should arrest someone and go to jail. Ah no, you are directly shooting. Wu Chen said it casually, but his words stuck into Fury's chest like the tip of a needle. The Insight program was only recently past resolution. Its original purpose was to prevent crime. At that time, Hydra planned to manipulate people's hearts, get rid of all the disobedient people, and then let the remaining people be their puppets obediently. The current SHIELD also wants people to be obedient. Is this a kind of inheritance? Wu Chen's words are full of irony. Farewell. Fury didn't know what to say to Wu Chen. After leaving a light farewell, he immediately left the island. After that, he removed all agents monitoring Wu Chen. He didn't tell anyone about Hydra and Project Insight because, Fury, he couldn't trust anyone right now. For a long time to come, he had to spend his mind on the internal affairs of SHIELD. Why don't you give him all the information directly? The voice of the super gene system came. SHIELD or Hydra has nothing to do with us. Wu Chen said. Then why let him know that Hydra exists? Genetic Systems asked. If you don't find him something to do, he will come to trouble us all day long. When Wu Chen spoke, he had already retracted the projection of the Earth. On the console, a long spear appeared, the first weapon he planned to build. Find them something to do, and they won't bother bothering me again. Wu Chen said, the genetic system, and no longer asked. Find me some workers. Although I have built the skeleton of the house, I still have to find workers to do the meticulous work. Okay, the genetic system answered. What material is suitable for this long gun? Yi Fan asked. Global metal data detected. Recommended, Vibranium. The genetic system answered. Vibranium has strong plasticity and excellent defense ability, but flame-level weapons need to be sharp enough. Wu Chen said. There is no metal known on Earth that can surpass Vibranium. Said the genetic system. If you don't have it on Earth, look for it in the universe. Adamantium, Ulu metal, Yaka metal, galaxy glaze, although I'm not sure if these exist in this world, but the universe is so big, it should be possible to find some materials that can create void weapons. Wu Chen said. This is the Marvel movie universe, the only known special metals are Vibranium, Ulu metal and Yaka metal, but the future, no one can say. Moreover, the universe is so big, how many special metals are contained in it, who can know all of them? Here, unlike the super god universe, there is a device such as a celestial computer. I will let the big clock start to gradually expand the search range, but the time it takes is unknown. said the genetic system. Unknown is unknown, you have to start looking for it first. Wu Chen was prepared for this. After all, the big clock in the supernatural universe records the entire known universe, which took tens of thousands of years for the space principle to complete. It takes time for big clocks to find new powerful metals. But right now, Wu Chen needs to build powerful equipment. The first generation of super warriors is not weak, but not strong either. Really, in terms of physical state, Wu Chen may not be able to beat Thor and Hulk. Therefore, Wu Chen needs the blessing of equipment. Vibranium. This is filtered out by the big clock. Currently the most suitable metal material for crafting flame weapons and armor. Today, vibranium is mainly kept by Wakanda. Although Wakanda has highly advanced technology, it is an extremely closed country. Their technology and vibranium resources will never be easily sold to outsiders. Big clock, can you analyze the metal composition of vibranium, and then use the micro-wormhole transport technology to get it directly? Wu Chen asked. The analysis program is already running, and the analysis will be completed in 48 minutes. The voice of the genetic system came. The properties of unmined vibranium are extremely unstable. If it is transported directly by the black hole algorithm, it is easy to cause accidents. The genetic system warned. It means that I can get mine directly, but if I haven't mine, I have to dig it myself. Wu Chen asked. Yes, vibranium came from outside. Genetic systems explain vibranium's condition. It burns up in the atmosphere, and then interacts with the Earth's gravity, magnetism, etc., to disrupt the molecules inside it. Therefore, the mining of vibranium requires specific technologies and equipment to be realized. The gene system said, and Wu Chen also understood. How much vibranium has been mined and scattered outside Wakanda? Wu Chen asked. It has been scanned, a total of 315 kilograms. That includes Roger's shield, as well as antiques from several other museum collections. But the largest amount is the vibranium raw material collected by Ulysses Crow, which is close to 300 kilograms. The genetic system answered. Take Roger's shield, I guess he will come to fight with me. Wu Chen complained. The vibranium in Ulysses' collection will be involved in the birth of Ultron and Vision in the future. If all are taken away, Ancient One will probably have an opinion. Wu Chen suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Insufficient strength is to look forward and backward. If he has now obtained the full set of Master God level configuration like Keisha, why should he be afraid? Sure enough, development is the last word. The big clock, to complete the forging of the spear in my hand, plus a metal coat, how much vibranium? Wu Chen asked. The weapon is set at 35 kilograms, of which 40% is titanium, so 21 kilograms is needed. The design of the metal jacket is not finished, so the data cannot be judged. Said the genetic system. The design of the metal vest is based on the dark alloy armor. Wu Chen said. Dark alloy armor, data proofreading. Replace dark iron with vibranium and titanium alloys. Load armor size. The data proofreading is completed, and the required vibranium is about 20 kilograms. After the big clock has completed the proofreading of all the data, it came to its conclusion. That said, we now need 41 kilograms of vibranium. Wu Chen said. He was thinking, how to obtain these titanium alloys. Just take it directly from Ulysses. After Ultron builds Vision, the consumption is only tens of kilograms. As for the later he builds himself a body and transforms the city engine, it does not involve the birth of life, we can just ignore it. Wu Chen made a decision. What Ancient One wanted was that Wu Chen would not hinder the birth of a living being. And no matter how you calculate it, Vision's body doesn't need vibranium that costs 100 kilograms. There are nearly 300 kilograms in Ulysses now, and he takes more than 40 kilograms, which is not much. The vibranium data analysis has been completed, and the black hole algorithm can be used directly for transportation. The genetic system warned. Take it directly, Wu Chen said. Then, he saw the emergence of vibranium. Through the micro-wormhole transport technology, even in front of Ulysses, he couldn't stop it. Ulysses was angry. The resource he cared about the most was taken away like this, how could he just let it go? It's just that Wu Chen at the moment didn't even bother to care about the outside world. Vibranium has been obtained, and he needs to officially open it next, forging the equipment. Wu Chen was just an ordinary person in the past. Although he has obtained a plug-in like a big clock, his foundation is still weak. To build flame weapons, Wu Chen needs to understand all the related technologies first, and also learn the specific forging ability. So, the whole process is lengthy. For the next few months, except for the occasional oversight of work on the house outside, he spent almost all of his time immersed in the laboratory, busy with research and fabrication. At the same time, the outside world is also undergoing many changes one after another. An approaching aircraft has been detected. Wu Chen, who was forging armor in the research room, suddenly heard a hint from the genetic system. Airplane, where did it come from? Wu Chen asked. For the first time in the past few months, a plane has appeared here. Wakanda royal family fighter. Wakanda. Wu Chen was slightly surprised. At this time, there was Wakanda's plane showing up, which is obviously not right. The visitor is T'Challa, accompanied by 4 members of the royal guard led by Okoye. The genetic system is reporting. The king of Wakanda is T'Chaka now, but he is too old to continue fighting. Wu Chen said, now it's T'Challa, which means that the other party is ready to fight. That means, they probably knew, I took Vibranium. Wu Chen stood up. He stopped what he was doing, left the lab, and went directly outside the house. When he looked up to the sky, the Wakanda's plane also appeared. Wearing a Black Panther battlesuit, T'Challa, accompanied by Okoye and 2 members of the Royal Guard, landed in front of Wu Chen. His Royal Highness of Wakanda, visiting the humble house, but have something important to discuss. Wu Chen went straight to the topic after being polite. Since you know my arrival, you must also know the purpose of our coming here. T'Challa said, sorry, I don't know. You took our Vibranium and... Okoye was interrupted by T'Challa halfway through his words. After calming down a bit, T'Challa continued. We have received information that you have illegally obtained a shipment of Vibranium from Wakanda, and we are here to investigate the situation. The prince is more polite. Wu Chen said, Vibranium is a very precious resource in our country, and Vibranium was originally very special, so we hope that you will cooperate with our investigation. The official tone of T'Challa is also extremely skilled. I did get a batch of Vibranium. Wu Chen didn't hide it either. Then please. But I took it from someone else, and it has nothing to do with you Wakanda. Before T'Challa finished speaking, Wu Chen continued to express his attitude. I got Vibranium from Ulysses. Even if I want to pursue it, he should come to me. Ulysses is a thief, a murderer. Okoye hates Ulysses very much. But in this case, T'Challa wouldn't let her get out of control. They had investigated before they came. They know that Wu Chen has the ability to take other people's things out of thin air, and they also know that he easily defeated the scepter-wielding human Loki during the battle in New York. Therefore, Wu Chen is a strong man, and as a result of confronting the strong man, it is very likely that both sides will suffer. Ulysses' Vibranium was stolen from our country, and it would have made sense for us to recover the stolen goods. T'Challa said, you said it was stolen goods, but Ulysses said it belonged to him. The person who directly docked with me didn't show up, and you ran out of the source. That doesn't make much sense, does it? Wu Chen first asked rhetorically, and then continued to elaborate. It's like when you buy a second-hand car and find that there is a problem with the car, you have to find the buyer first before you can find the manufacturer to settle the account, right? You are simply unreasonable. Ochi couldn't help it this time. Even T'Challa, his face is not very good-looking. Am I being unreasonable or are you unreasonable? Wu Chen replied directly. You. Okoye was furious. But she was about to pull out her spear, but was stopped by T'Challa. We came here today just to take Vibranium. If you have to stop it, we can only take extraordinary measures. T'Challa is giving a final warning. Want to do it? Come on, let me see how capable Black Panther is. Wu Chen is not afraid of Wakanda. Although Wakanda is technologically advanced, there is still a superhero called Black Panther. But Wu Chen has more advanced technology than Wakanda, and now Wu Chen is stronger than when he first became a super soldier. If that's the case, then it's a sin. T'Challa said, putting on Black Panther's helmet. He waved his hand, which was a sign that Okoye and the others would not intervene. Wu Chen smiled, he grabbed it in midair, and the long spear made by Vibranium appeared in his hand. The moment the spear appeared, T'Challa recognized that it was made with vibranium as the core material. Others take their resource and use it as a weapon against themselves. This is the most unacceptable thing. At this moment, T'Challa really has no patience at all, and he has to teach him a lesson, this unreasonable thief who doesn't ask himself. T'Challa stood up suddenly, relying on a pair of sharp claws, and launched a violent attack on Wuan. Black Panther, the superhero that united the tribes of Wakanda and then guarded Wakanda for hundreds of years. He has the fighting power no less than Rogers. Also has armor gear similar to Stark. The combat effectiveness of superhero cannot rely on pure data comparison. But this is also enough to prove that Black Panther was originally an extremely powerful fighter. But what he has to face today is Wuan, the first generation of super fighters. But he is the first generation of infinite fit. From the very beginning, he had already matched the genes of Angel, Space-Time Rose and Sunlight. Now, in the past few months, he has gained more. The power of the galaxy, the god of war, the fighting over the Buddha, and even the devil gene. All that can bring Wuan higher combat power and more ability. Wuan will adapt. Although it is said that everything is good, it is not as good as the same. But Hessian often said, you can learn without skills, but you can't be without knowledge. Moreover, Chaoshan technology originally existed as a complete system. All the main god-level powerhouses, he has some understanding of the technology in all directions. For example, Hexie, her wormhole ability is not as good as Morgana, her combat power is not as good as Keisha, her void research is not as good as Carl, and her fixed star drive is not as good as Reyna. But Hexie is a proper main god-level powerhouse. Especially after she integrated the various abilities she had learned, some of the fighting styles she created were also excellent. This can be seen from Ji Shin, who has received Hexie's inheritance. Now, Wuan is taking the same path. He has a big clock, and a big open clock. All the different technologies in the super god universe are available in the big clock. Therefore, Wuan can not only be released to various types of ability, and he can understand the essence of these abilities and technologies more deeply than Hexie. The lifespan of God is measured in 100,000, or even 10,000 years. It can be difficult to create and break a technology. But to learn, in such sufficient time, there are super genes that continue to expand the brain capacity. If Wuan wanted to master all of them, it was a matter of course. Closer to home, in the face of T'Challa's powerful attack at the moment, Wuan directly took a head-to-head approach. Analyze the Black Panther line of action. Deduce the Black Panther action routine. The final analysis result has been formed. The super gene system is extremely fast, and Wuan has found its loopholes. Load the power of thunder. On the spear, lightning continued to beat. Wuan stabbed the spear sharply, and its direction was exactly where Black Panther could not dodge at the moment. In times of crisis, Black Panther deserves both hands to hold the spear. Vibranium could have absorbed a huge amount of energy for defense, but at this moment, the lightning suddenly broke through the peak and penetrated into the armor. Black Panther only felt a numbness all over his body, and his body actually fell down. Open wormhole solution. Target, behind T'Challa. Wuan said. The strength on the spear increased again. Black Panther's body was paralyzed by lightning. In the face of Wuchen's sudden force, he couldn't resist at all. I thought that the gun would fall directly on him, and Black Panther was ready to withstand the impact. But the next moment, he was stunned. The spear went straight through his chest, and the point of the spear appeared behind him. In this scene, Okoye and the two guards were shocked. The three pulled out their spears and charged towards Wuan. Wait, T'Challa shouted and drank the three directly. The scene gradually quieted down, and the three people realized that the spear had not touched T'Challa's body. The spear was transferred directly behind T'Challa using wormhole technology when it came into contact with the Black Panther battle suit passed on from T'Challa. Although not injured, T'Challa at the moment has understood. Wuan can use the wormhole to play this effect, and naturally he can use the wormhole to directly pierce the spear into his body. The indestructible Black Panther battle suit is ineffective in front of Wuan. You win, T'Challa said. Wuan smiled, and the spear disappeared from his hand, as well as from T'Challa's body. Vibranium is what you got from Ulysses, not from the kingdom of Wakanda. You are entitled to use it. T'Challa took off the Black Panther battle suit, said, take it, even if it's from Ulysses, it's yours. Wu Chen is not an unreasonable person. He was like before, just not satisfied with Wakanda's aggressive attitude. I should have given you some rewards for taking your things, but now, Ulysses can't have an accident. After 2 years, I will personally catch him and send it to you as a return gift. Wu Chen said. T'Challa's face immediately improved when he heard this. If he can catch Ulysses, let alone Wu Chen only took a mere 40 kilograms of vibranium, just more. By the way, I have to build other weapons, vibranium, I will get some from your country. Puff. A second ago, T'Challa thought Wu Chen was not bad. But only a second later, it was discovered that Wu Chen was a person who made an inch. On second thought, this is a person he can't beat or offend. It's so irritating, how can you be so cheeky? On the way back, Okoye couldn't help cursing. His strength can make him do anything recklessly, but he seems to have a sense of proportion in what he does. T'Challa said, any measure. Okoye didn't understand. As he said, the vibranium he got from Ulysses, not from us. But didn't he just take it from us? This time, he informed us in advance, and he said that he would hand Ulysses to us in the future. I don't believe what he said. Why don't you believe it? T'Challa asked. We Wakanda have been searching for Ulysses for so many years without success. Can he do it alone? Ochi said. Then we Wakanda can transfer vibranium out of thin air. T'Challa's rhetorical question silenced Okoye. Our planes are equipped with stealth technology, but he can detect before we arrive. T'Challa then continued. He could take vibranium straight from Ulysses. He could just go over the protective net outside our country and take vibranium from inside Wakanda. This man, his strength is a mystery, and we can never underestimate someone like this. T'Challa's words made Okoye realize that maybe he really underestimated Wu Chen's ability. And those Avengers who appeared in the Great War in New York, the world is developing at an unimaginable speed. Perhaps, we Wakanda should consider, open to the outside world, and connect with the world. What T'Challa finally said was actually a question he had been thinking about for a long time. Wakanda now also has the most advanced technology in the world. But the world is changing too fast, and they rely on the technology revitalized by vibranium to keep them ahead forever. On the other side, Wu Chen on the island has returned to the laboratory. This time, T'Challa's visit brought a new batch of vibranium to Wu Chen. With this new vibranium, Wu Chen can start thinking about building more gear. In the database of the Big Clock, there is also the data of all the weapons and equipment in the entire Super God universe. Keisha's Silver Wings, Morgana's Devil's Claw, Lu Chuang's God-Killing Axe. Although the material of vibranium can't support it to create the level of slaying gods. However, the configuration of weapons still needs to be expanded. For the tech god of the Super Seminary, a single weapon is not safe. Keisha got an arsenal that almost all the gods in the universe wanted. Moreover, in order to cooperate with various abilities, it is necessary to have corresponding weapons. Hard steel on the front, Keisha's Judgment Angel and Morgana's Devil's Claw are definitely the top picks. But in the face of long-range attack targets, which weapon can catch up with the stars? In particular, the genes of the god of war of Nuo Shing, which originally had to cooperate with the axe of killing gods, in order to exert the best combat power. Therefore, Wu Chen is also starting to build an arsenal of his own. As a result, immersive research and development, time flies. For the next few months, Wu Chen's side was quiet. As for the outside world, Stark versus Killian, Wu Chen has no idea. But another piece of news has always been under the close attention of Wu Chen. An abnormal energy point has been detected, and a space wormhole has been created. The Big Clock detected what Wu Chen wanted. That is the space-time wormhole brought by Juxing Lianju. Iron Man 3 Stark versus Killian, he wasn't interested. But Thor 2 Thor fought against the Dark Elves, Wu Chen was very interested. Because, during this period of time, the most powerful infinite gems will be involved. The reality gem, its seal has been lifted. It's finally here, this time, I'm bound to get TIE particles. Wu Chen was slightly excited. He had previously missed the Psychic Scepter and the Tesseract due to the intervention of the Ancient One. This time, Ancient One has no reason to intervene again, and the current Wu Chen is no longer as weak as a year ago. In the past year, he has been concentrating on research, and now he can master more supernatural technology proficiently. Moreover, he has been upgraded to become the second generation of super fighters. The Loki at the beginning was because of necessity. Now that he has enough preparation, he can pursue his eternity in a more high-profile manner. Get TIE particles. This is the first step for Wuchen to really start chasing eternity. Big Clock, give me real-time monitoring of global data and lock at the same time, Jane Foster. Wuchen said, and the Big Clock immediately followed Wuchen's instructions. Foster, Thor's girlfriend on Earth. And she is the best guide to help Wuchen find TIE particles. Stopping all research, Wuchen is now focusing on the search for TIE particles. Now, all the wormholes that have appeared in the world are under Wuchen's observation. As for Jane Foster, Wuchen is watching her situation personally at the moment. Esir, Heimdall is also looking at Jane Foster. It's just that the goals of the two are different. What Wuchen wanted was to look for TIE particles, and what Heimdall wanted was because he was commissioned by Thor. Very strong spatial energy fluctuations were detected. Big Clock detected new data. It's here. If nothing goes wrong, Jane Foster was sent to the location of TIE particles from here. Wuchen said. The next moment, he opened the wormhole and appeared behind Foster. Who are you? Foster, who had planned to enter the wormhole, couldn't help but look back at Wuchen at this moment. Wuchen replied, walking directly to the wormhole. Taking Foster's hand, he entered the wormhole. Foster was in a state of bewilderment throughout the whole process, and she had no idea what was going on. Thank you for your guidance. In return, when your cancer develops in the future, I will treat you. After Wuchen finished speaking, he walked straight towards the location of TIE particles. His purpose here is just for TIE particles. Cancer. Foster was even more confused. Out of curiosity, she followed Wuchen's footsteps. Who are you, and what are you doing here? Foster kept asking questions, but Wuchen, at the moment, didn't bother to pay attention to him. He has come to the stone pillar that seals TIE particles. Looking at the dark red substance pressed under the huge stone pillar, he felt the original power from TIE particles. Big Clock, Wuchen said, and the data analysis of the Big Clock started immediately. This is a long-planned plan, but the analysis of the Big Clock has taken a lot of time for a long time. This is a substance that I have never been exposed to in the past. It is powerful and complex. Although its energy is single, it is extremely unstable. When Wuchen wanted the Mind Scepter and Tesseract before, the Big Clock hadn't been scanned like this, so he didn't understand the essence of infinite gems. Now, for the first time, the detailed analysis, even with the power of the Big Clock, is shocking. It's like void matter, but it has the characteristics of the dark element. In terms of scale, the amount of TIE particles, even if dozens of fixed stars are driven to bombard the black hole, the void matter obtained may not exceed it. But obviously, the energy of void matter is more comprehensive. The genetic system conveys the analysis results of the Grand Clock. Infinite gems are materials that were born at the Big Bang. From this point of view, infinite gems are similar to void matter. But in this universe, they each form separate entities and then have a single property. Void matter is all dispersed, and only a very small part will be pulled by the black hole to form around the black hole. Only through the bombardment of level fixed star energy can the void matter be blown up. Infinite gems can form at this scale because of the single property. But because of this, the power of a single infinite gem is limited. However, the two seem to be different in terms of data analysis. The in-depth analysis has caused the operation of the Big Clock to fall into a state of near downtime. Wuchen knows the difficulty of this problem. The two universes are not the same, and although their substances are similar, they are definitely different. The Big Clock is calculated according to the initial setting, and the result will naturally fall into an infinite loop and cannot continue. This, in fact, is also the limit of astronomical computers. In the face of real research and development, only the human body can be carried out originally. Even if the algorithm of the Big Clock is advanced, it only analyzes the algorithms and knowledge reserves that the system already has. Once it exceeds this category, its algorithm will fail. Just like, when the Big Clock is in the super god universe, it can only control everything within the scope of the known universe. Okay, These more in-depth studies will be carried out after I go back. Wu Chen interrupted Big Clock's continued analysis. Now, fix the TIE particles first, and we're going to take it back to the lab. Wu Chen said. It's easy. Big Clock can't analyze all of Infinite Gem's data, but just control it can. Just a simple algorithm, TIE particles are adjusted from liquid to solid. Wu Chen directly pushed the huge amounts of stone pillars away and took out the solid reality gem. An unprecedented huge energy quickly integrated into Wu Chen's body. Wu Chen was able to perceive the power of this reality gem. What is this? Foster looked at the gem suspiciously. Reality gem, a powerful substance born at the beginning of the universe. Wu Chen replied, okay, let's go back. If it's too late, I'm afraid we won't be able to go back. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he took Foster back to the wormhole and back to Earth. However, at the moment when the two came out of the wormhole, an angry figure appeared in front of them. Thor. Foster was visibly taken aback the moment he saw Thor. In a panic, he quickly shook off Wu Chen's hand. Thor also swung his hammer at this moment and smashed it towards Wu Chen. Wu Chen's mind was originally all on TIE particles. But at this moment, Thor attacked without hesitation, so he had to withdraw his mind. The right hand was raised, and the spear appeared in its hand. The tip of the gun collided with Thor's hammer, and the resulting energy fluctuations directly shook Foster, who was standing beside Wu Chen, flying out. Wu Chen himself also quickly retreated. Thor's blow contained a lot of power. If it were an ordinary person, he would definitely die. Court death. Wu Chen was also angry. A person who wants to kill him, Wu Chen will never make him feel good. On the spear, the power of thunder is entangled. Wu Chen spread his wings behind his back and flew towards Thor at a very fast speed. The tip of the gun was moving fast, and the energy generated pierced the surrounding air, and the entire house was burned by thunder at this moment. Sir, the energy generated by your battle with Thor is beyond the reach of the mortals in the building. The genetic system warned. Then send them away. Wu Chen just replied this sentence, but his movements were not slow at all. Thor's Thor hammer has been brought back to hand. When he saw that Wu Chen actually used the power of thunder, he was slightly surprised. But soon, the pride of being a god and the anger in his heart made him unable to care so much. The power of thunder was stimulated, and Thor's hammer was quickly lifted. The hammer and the spear collided again, and this time, with powerful energy, the entire building was destroyed in an instant. This half-built unfinished building is completely ruined this time. Foster, Daisy, and the group of children, who had been teleported outside the building, were all stunned in place at the moment. Boom! With the sound of huge amounts of explosions, Wu Chen and Thor both flew out of the ruins at the same time. Both of them had red eyes. At this moment, the two were fighting without showing any mercy, and the thunder energy on the spear and hammer was also increasing. Boom! Lightning flashes and thunder. This scene seems to be the end of the world, making everyone in the city tremble with fear. After a long while, Daisy was the first to react. She came to Foster's side and asked, Jane, what the hell is going on? Foster was questioned by Daisy, and then he came back to his senses. I don't know either. Foster's head was still a little confused, and he couldn't understand the situation. Why did Thor fight with someone as soon as he came back? Besides, who was that person? Daisy continued to question, and when Wu Chen was mentioned, Foster seemed to suddenly understand. The way Thor looked at himself and Wu Chen at the time, and Wu Chen inadvertently held her hand. She understood. It was Thor who didn't know the original and misunderstood. This fool, after leaving for 2 or 3 years, he will be jealous when he comes back. Foster cursed in a low voice. What? This time, Daisy was confused. Thor, stop me, Foster shouted, but at the moment Wu Chen and Thor are fighting to the death. Thunder rolled around, and the sound of the collision between the spear and the hammer was agitated, and where could one hear the cry of an ordinary person? The energy value of the second generation cannot surpass Thor. The genetic system warned. It's the second generation, and you can't be a Thor who can only rely on a hammer. Wu Chen was a little unconvinced. If you use other abilities, you can, but the second generation Thunder God of War gene is only based on the use of this spear and cannot be surpassed. The genetic system answered. Thunder God of War, I didn't expect that Angel Yan, the main god-level gene ability, would not be considered the top in the system of the super seminary. Wu Chen complained. Angel Yan's main combat power comes from the secondary biological engine, and secondly, Angel Yan's configuration is far stronger than yours. Said the genetic system. That's right, she is the third-generation divine body and the Sword of Flames. Wu Chen is actually not incomprehensible. Angel Yan's thunder power gene was originally not strong in the super god universe. Compared with the three major god-building projects and the space-time rose, these genes have given great advantages from the beginning of the setting. But Angel Yan's excellence was gradually cultivated in the war. From an initial recruit, in the next 7,000 years, he has grown into the Holy Left. Compared with Juxin, who had become a Holy Right Wing within a few hundred years by virtue of his extraordinary ability, Yan was a god of war who had been honed from the battlefield. As for Wu Chen, although he possesses Angel Yan's thunder power, he does not have the same fighting experience as Angel Yan. Furthermore, the power that the second-generation super fighters can exert is indeed difficult to surpass that of Thor, who has the blood of Odin. The system suggests that you can use the power of anti-void, limit Thor ability, and then use the power of thunder. It's not hard to beat him. Wu Chen interrupted the system. As an all-around super soldier, relying on supernatural technology, he has many ways to defeat Thor. But, I just want to defeat him with his proudest ability. No recommendations from the system are accepted. Wu Chen did not take advantage of the supernatural technology to directly defeat Thor. What he took was to confront Thor head-on with the power of thunder, which he was best at. With a weak victory in this battle, Thor's self-confidence is bound to take a big hit. This is Wu Chen's revenge for those who dared to threaten his life. Even if that person is careless. Big Clock, do your best to help me. Wu Chen said. The spear in his hand was raised high, and the huge thunder energy began to gather. Thor saw Wu Chen's appearance and realized that this was Wu Chen's big move, and he also raised the Meow Meow hammer in his hand. Two people, this is accumulating their powerful strength at the same time. Jane, hurry up and think of a way, or you will die. Daisy shouted anxiously. Seeing that the entire sky was flooded with thunder energy, an unprecedented sense of oppression was unbearable. Foster at the moment was also anxious, but she was worried besides being anxious. She doesn't know Wu Chen, but she can feel that Wu Chen's strength is very strong. Although Thor is a god, she has a feeling that Thor is going to be severely injured by Wu Chen. Suddenly, Foster heard sirens. That's the city's police. Although the role of these police officers is not large, they cannot sit idly by at times like this. Foster has no hesitation. She walked up to a policeman and snatched a pistol from him. Pointing the gun to the sky, she fired a shot. The bullet didn't hit anyone, but the sound of gunfire caught the attention of Thor and Wu Chen. Wu Chen didn't care about that. Thor, on the other hand, noticed the anger and worry on Foster's face. Get off me, Foster growled. Thor's movements slowed when he heard this. The energy he had gathered began to dissipate. Wu Chen watched this scene. He knew that Thor was about to stop. At this time, Wu Chen launched an attack, and Thor was bound to lose. But in doing so, he would be defeated if he tried to blow Thor's self-confidence. What, are you afraid? Wu Chen also put away the spear, but he did not forget to mock Thor. Who said I was afraid? I. Thor, if you don't come down again, you won't want to see me again in this life. After Foster finished speaking, he turned and left. When Thor saw this scene, he couldn't care about Wu Chen's side, and quickly put away the hammer and fell to the ground. Looks like he cares more about that, said the genetic system. A sensual god. Wu Chen knew that this time there was no chance. Put away the spear, he also fell to the ground. Jane, I. Thor was about to say something, but Foster slapped him in the face. Not because Thor was jealous, not because Thor hadn't seen her for so long, but because she wanted Thor back to his senses. Next time you encounter something, first figure out the situation before you start. Foster said. Then, what the hell is going on here? Thor asked. I'm here to investigate spatial changes. Foster answered truthfully. Then what happened to Wu Chen? How could he be with you? Also, where did you guys go just now? Why can't even Heimdall see your trace? With 4 questions in a row, Thor said all the doubts in his heart. His name is Wu Chen. Foster looked at Wu Chen curiously. You don't know him? Thor was a little surprised, but at the same time he was relieved. I don't know, he appeared suddenly. Foster replied. Then where did he take you? Thor pressed. I don't know where it is. After he went there, he went straight to find a huge amount of stone pillar and took a dark red substance from it. Foster said. So, he wasn't your target from the beginning. Thor was completely relieved. That's for sure. We don't know each other. What did he come to me for? Foster glanced at Thor, but she was clearly happy. Thor's anger disappeared after learning that there was nothing between Wu Chen and Jane Foster. But now, he is still wary of Wu Chen. Thor and Wu Chen met during the last New York War. Although the two didn't say a few words at the time, he saw Wu Chen defeat Loki. Now, Wu Chen's strength is stronger than that at the time, and he still uses the same strength as himself, which is on par with himself. Thor walked up to Wu Chen, and the two faced off again. But this time, neither side intends to fight again. Where did you take Jane? Thor asked. It's not me taking her, she's taking me. Wu Chen said. But at that time, it was obviously you who pulled. Then ask, if I didn't show up at the time, would she go in by herself? Wu Chen interrupted Thor's words, and Thor couldn't help but turn his head and look at Foster. I'm just curious, what's in there? Foster felt a little embarrassed, but she answered truthfully. That's it, I'm sorry. Thor sincerely apologized to Wu Chen. This sentence also relieved Wu Chen a lot. Forget it, I also gained something today anyway. Wu Chen thought that he had obtained the reality gem, which was considered a big killer. Speaking of which, what exactly did you get? Foster asked. Let's talk at my place. Wu Chen looked around, the surrounding police officers, and the agents who were coming. The atmosphere of the scene is not suitable for standing here and chatting. Big clock, open the wormhole. Wu Chen said. A visible wormhole immediately appeared in front of everyone. Wu Chen walked in first. Thor and Foster glanced at each other, then entered the wormhole as well. Daisy stayed with her assistant for a while, but eventually followed. The most important thing is that the group of children also came in with them. When they entered the laboratory, a group of people were all shocked. A group of consumption stared at all this, the virtual projection, and the never-before-seen high-tech equipment around. Wow, you are really, quite special here. Daisy was surprised, she was just like the kids. The installations and equipment here are more advanced than all the installations I have ever seen on Earth. Foster can also be regarded as a genius scientist, so her first reaction to seeing these devices was different from those of Daisy. Also, you seem to have opened the wormhole on your own initiative just now. Foster has been researching, is related to wormholes. Now, everything she has studied has been realized by Wu Chen. Moreover, the wormhole controlled by Wu Chen can even be so accurate. The fact that he suddenly appeared behind him at the beginning, and now he has brought everyone back here with precision is the best proof. Yes, Wu Chen replied. How did you do it? And I asked you to come here because of the TIE particles issue. Wu Chen interrupted Foster, although Foster is excited now and wants to know everything about wormholes. But Wu Chen will not reveal this information, at least not now. That, Foster wanted to keep asking, but she knew Wu Chen's attitude when she saw Wu Chen's face. Things cannot be forced. Moreover, Wu Chen is also a person with terrifying combat effectiveness and super advanced technology. If you are in a hurry, it will be self-defeating. Thor, have you been in Asgard for so many years, have you come across anything related to infinite gems? Wu Chen asked, but Thor was obviously at a loss when he heard it. This is also what Wu Chen expected. For over 1,000 years, Odin has been deliberately hiding information about infinite gems. In the original, Thor finally learned the truth about all the infinite gems, and that was after entering the water of true vision during the Avengers Alliance 2. This is infinite gems. Wu Chen took out the reality gem. The crimson gem caught the attention of Thor and Foster the moment it appeared. Thor is a god, and he feels that great power from the reality gem. This power seems to contain great evil. Thor said. That's because its previous owner was a dark elf. Wu Chen said. There is no difference between good and evil in this pure power. This power is naturally righteous in the hands of decent people, and evil in the hands of evil people. Also, the dark elves aren't pure evil, they just use a power structure that's the exact opposite of the Asgard of the Dominion. Dark elves, I seem to have heard about them. Thor seems to have an impression, but it's not very clear. It was an ancient race that once existed in the universe. They were born in darkness, so they hated light. Wu Chen said, and the big clock has already displayed the relevant information in front of them. The origin of the Dark Elves, and their intention to use the power of TIE particles in order to change the world, to the last god king of Asgard, to defeat him and seal the TIE particles. The whole incident is completely unobstructed. You said that some of those Dark Elves are hiding, so now, will they want to retake TIE particles and use this to change the world? Foster asked. They will, and it won't be long before they come here to snatch it. Wu Chen said, let me bring TIE particles back to Asgard. Thor said, since we Asgard have beaten them in the past, we can do the same now. So, as long as TIE particles reach Asgard, they are absolutely safe. After Thor said this, he wanted to take the reality gem away. But before he could meet the reality gem, the gem was already in Wu Chen's hands. Since the gem is already in my hands, I won't give it to anyone, even if it's just to keep it for me. Wu Chen put away the reality gem. You just said that there is a Dark Elf's idea to fight it. You stay on the Earth, how to ensure its safety? That's no need for you to worry about. Wu Chen said. Don't worry about me. Once those Dark Elves get the TIE particles, they'll change the universe. Thor starts to panic. Since I dared to take this reality gem, I naturally have the ability to protect it from being stolen. Wu Chen's attitude was firm. You even me, can't even beat you. I'm just too lazy to be honest with you. Wu Chen interrupts Thor. Thor, he really isn't afraid of this so-called Thor. What do you mean by that? I hadn't done my best yet. Thor remains confident. Yes. Wu Chen looked at Thor and waved his right hand lightly. A golden orb of light suddenly appeared beside Thor, wrapping it all around. I only use this trick. As long as you can get out of it, I will give you the TIE particles and bring them back to Asgard. Wu Chen said, and the people around were all attracted by the ball of light at this moment. Thor, Foster looked worriedly at Thor inside the ball of light. Isn't it just one of the light barriers? I have seen this thing before. On the periphery of Asgard, there was such a light barrier, so he didn't feel anything. Really? Then try to break through. Wu Chen dismissed it. By the way, to remind you, the temperature in this light sphere will continue to increase, and eventually it will generate a temperature that exceeds the sun. I wonder how long you can last at that temperature. Wu Chen reminded. What? The temperature of the sun? Foster panicked. The temperature of a normal flame alone can burn a person to death. If this is the temperature of the sun, even the most solid things will be melted. Stop bragging, I think it's just a bluff. Thor still disagrees. But soon, he began to notice the abnormality. Inside that ball of light, the temperature began to climb rapidly. From the original normal temperature, it became a stove in just a few seconds. The clothes on Thor's body began to burn at this temperature, and even the armor was gradually melting. In the original book, Thor was once subjected to the energy of a neutron star. But at that time, he only suffered briefly. And now, Thor is completely trapped within the space-time barrier, and that super high temperature lasts for a long time. Quickly use the hammer. Foster shouted loudly. Thor inside the barrier also raised the Thor hammer in his hand and summoned a powerful lightning strike to hit the space-time barrier. However, his attack did not break the barrier. On the contrary, with the injection of the thunder energy, the temperature that had been rising steadily climbed a level in an instant. This scene is really familiar. Wu Chen sighed with emotion. Super God Universe, when Hexy tested Angel Yan also did the same thing. Said the genetic system, my strength has not reached the level of Hexy, but this space-time flare can still achieve that effect, but it will be slower. Wu Chen said, Thor's energy is waning, and his stamina is rapidly draining. The genetic system reports progress. Hurry up and stop. Don't stop Thor, he's going to die. Foster shouted anxiously. Didn't he say he could handle it? Wu Chen sat down and did not intend to take back the space-time flare. He's just a little guilty, so don't know him in the same way. Foster advised. Jane, you don't need to beg him, I can handle it. Thor is still struggling to support, but he has not dared to try again, using Thor's hammer to hit the space-time barrier. What are you doing? Your hammers are starting to melt. Jane cursed angrily. It wasn't until this moment that Thor noticed that the hammer in his hand showed signs of melting. The appearance of this scene broke Thor's will in an instant. I know, I admit, you are stronger than me, and I believe you have the ability to protect TIE particles. Thor shouted loudly. Wu Chen heard what he said and could see that Thor was really anxious. But right now, he didn't want to stop so soon. Throw the hammer out, Wu Chen said. When Thor heard this, he threw Thor's hammer out without hesitation. The moment Thor's hammer touched the space-time barrier, there was no obstruction. However, Thor remained within the barrier. Now, I'll give you a chance. As long as you can hold on for another minute, I'll let you out. Wu Chen walked up to Thor and said. One more minute, Thor I want to see how capable the so-called Aesir Protoss is. Wu Chen interrupted Foster. Isn't it just 1 minute? I can handle it. Thor gritted his teeth and insisted, it was for Asgard's honor that he would not compromise. 30 seconds. No part of Thor's armor was complete, and even his body was burned to a great extent. Foster was frantic beside him. Daisy and the children did not dare to look directly at each other at the moment. Can you keep going? Wu Chen asked. I can, and then, keep going. Thor's voice was weak, but his will was strong. In his body, there is an energy that seems to be nurturing. This constantly burning energy is constantly strengthening Thor's body's defense ability. Asgard. Heimdall's hands gripped the hilt of the sword. Odin on the side looked calm. Odin, Thor he has. Heimdall looked at Odin worriedly. His real power is in awakening, and, the Earthling, is watching Thor's limits. Odin said, you believe in that human? Heimdall asked. In the beginning, the temperature inside the barrier continued to rise, but now, it has been fixed at a relatively stable temperature. As a high-ranking person for thousands of years, Odin has already developed a pair of eyes to see the world. What he can see is not only the surface, but also the faint changes in people's hearts. From the moment Wu Chen asked Thor to throw Thor's hammer, Wu Chen was testing the limits of Thor. That's your son, Heimdall reminded. Yes, that is the son of Odin. Odin said, his eyes firmer, and he firmly believed in Thor's strength. 10 seconds. The last time is coming. Although Thor looks extremely weak, there are traces of lightning beating on his body. Only under extreme pressure can you unleash your potential. Wu Chen said, the space-time flare that trapped Thor, at the moment has disappeared. Although Thor has activated the potential of his thunder gene. But the long-term continuous consumption has already overdrawn his physical strength. It is impossible to force a breakthrough at this time. It is better to let him remember this feeling first, and whether he can really activate that kind of power in the future depends on him. You deserve it, Thor's title. Wu Chen said, the big clock is also at the moment, mobilizing energy to relieve Thor's body pain. Thor, lost. Thor forced himself to stand on the spot. There's no need to console me like that. In the 30 seconds behind you, you didn't continue to raise the temperature at all. You saw my limit, so you deliberately let me. There are only a few people who can persevere under the constant scorching of space-time flares, and you can't find a few in the entire universe. You are already a very powerful existence. Wu Chen is not comforting Thor, but Thor does have this ability. Even Keisha gets blown to pieces when faced with fixed star explosions. The instantaneous energy release of the neutron star may not be as strong as the moment of the fixed star's explosion, but it is also not weak. Therefore, it is estimated that no one can withstand the gods below the sacred body. Thor can withstand the energy of the neutron star, and his original physical quality is no worse than the super soldier of the third generation of gods. Definitely, Thor's physical fitness can catch up with the third generation god, but in a fight, he won't take any advantage among the third generation god's super fighters. It is estimated that Thornton will be able to make Thor feel better. Put on Atto, Juxin, who are proficient in supernatural technology, and a micro-wormhole combined with a god-killing weapon, Thor will definitely not be able to deal with it. The real battle and war still have to rely on the brain. Although Thor's original combat method has power, it is already at a disadvantage in the face of super soldiers who apply technology and tactics to the extreme. It's like a heroic general in ancient times facing a well-equipped and tactical special forces soldier. Compared with strength and martial arts, special forces may not be able to do as generals. But when it comes to really desperate, the special forces have a way to deal with this, General. You fulfilled the conditions I said, and now you can leave. Wu Chen said. I'm not leaving. Thor's body has improved significantly. Although you have proved that you have the strength to protect TIE particles, how can I stand by when I know the Dark Elves are coming to snatch it? Thor said. Whatever you want, it doesn't matter if you leave or stay anyway. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he turned and left the research room. He wants to go to a deeper laboratory, and he has to take advantage of the time now to study the existence of TIE particles. Thor, who remains in the lab, is still recovering. Foster found him new clothes. Daisy and the children didn't have any intention of leaving. They witnessed the battle between Wu Chen and Thor, and saw everything that just happened. The magic here made them extremely curious. They also wanted to see if the Dark Elves would really come. They want to see what the scene will be like. Those kids, their parents are looking for them. The genetic system warned. Then send them all back. Wu Chen said. You didn't prevent them from coming, and you didn't stop them from playing in the research room later. It seems that you like those children, said the genetic system. I do like children more than adults. After Wu Chen said this, he naturally answered. Because they are much simpler than adults. But bear children are sometimes worse than adults. Oh, bear boy, just beat him. Wu Chen said, and the genetic system fell into silence after listening to him. Through the big clock, the genetic system contacted the parents of all those children and sent them home. But these children, after seeing the power of Wu Chen and seeing the things here, have deeply imprinted all this in their memory. After that, they became keen on learning, and they also wanted to create powerful technology like Wu Chen. Definitely, this has nothing to do with Wu Chen. He continued his research on TIE particles. Outside the lab, in the research room, Thor, Foster, Daisy, and her assistant are still there. Among the 4 people, 2.5 were dumbfounded. But Foster has been studying the information in that virtual projection. The data simulated by the big clock records the detailed information of the entire Earth. It's amazing. Although he doesn't leave home, everything on the entire Earth is under his control. Foster said, pointing to a data point ahead. This is the Stark building. When the finger is placed on the data point, the Stark building screen is displayed. In that picture, Stark is sitting with Banner. Stark was trying to get Banner to teach him how to fear anxiety. But Banner was almost turned into Hulk by Stark. Is this a live image? Daisy asked curiously. The data shows that it is, but we have no way to confirm it. Foster said. It's easy to do, I'll just call him and ask. Thor said. Phone, but I didn't bring my phone. As Foster said, Daisy and her assistant shook their heads in the same way. Do you need to open a communication connection with Stark? The voice of the genetic system came. It is now not only Wu Chen's built-in super genetic system, but also responsible for the management of the big clock. Therefore, everything that happens in the laboratory is also under the control of the genetic system, that is, Wu Chen. Ah, Thor hesitated. Yes, Foster responded casually. Communication connection completed. The voice of the genetic system came, and the voice of Stark and Banner talking has been heard by everyone. I don't have any tools, so this is a connection to communication. Daisy was shocked. Who's talking? Stark in the virtual projection turned his head and looked around. Only then did Daisy realize that what she said could be heard in real time. It's me, Thor. Thor speaks quickly. Thor, you came to Earth? Stark asked, and took out a transparent crystal. As Stark waved the crystal, surveillance footage covering every floor of the Stark building appeared, and he was looking for Thor. Don't look for it, I'm in Wu Chen's laboratory now. Thor said. Wu Chen, the kid who stole a lot of equipment from me. Stark said, but suddenly, he realized a more serious problem. No, since you were with him, how do you know that I am looking for you? Then, can you start a video call? Foster tentatively spoke to the genetic system. Then, the video call started, and the pictures from the research room were also transmitted to Stark. Both Stark and Banner stood up at the same time. The pictures shown in the video shocked the 2 genius scientists. JARVIS. Sir, I didn't turn on the video function before, and I didn't notice any monitoring equipment or programs. JARVIS replied. This is not surveillance, there is all the data of the entire Earth on the holographic diffraction pattern here. Foster said. Global data. Stark was puzzled. We just saw the two of you chatting and wanted to make it official whether this is real-time data, so we called you. Foster replied. You mean, you can see us and hear what we're talking about before we start communicating? Stark is even more incredible because even JARVIS can't do that. And, who are you? Stark asked. Jane Foster. Thor's girlfriend. Looks like she's pretty smart. Stark said, then asked again. You made all these things. This is Wu Chen's laboratory. Naturally, everything is made by Wu Chen. Wu Chen. Stark had noticed Wu Chen when he was fighting in New York. But after that battle, he got into his own troubles, so he hasn't been able to get a good understanding of Wu Chen's true condition until now. Now, suddenly it is discovered that Wu Chen actually has more advanced technology than him. JARVIS, prepare the plane. Stark said, he is coming to Wu Chen's research institute. Banner also followed Stark, and he also wanted to know what Wu Chen's technology was like. However, when their plane came to the outskirts of the Wu Chen Institute, they found that they couldn't get in at all. A huge amount of light energy barrier surrounded the entire island. Anyone who is not authorized by Wu Chen cannot directly enter the island. JARVIS, what the hell is going on? Stark asked. On the periphery of the island, there is an energy shield. JARVIS replied. Then break it for me. Stark said. I can't do it. The program used by the other party is too complicated, and the operation speed is far higher than mine. JARVIS is also helpless. How could he, an ordinary computer, be comparable to the ceiling of a celestial computer? The calculation ability of the big clock can calculate the entire universe. If it's a guest, knock on the door kindly. The voice of the genetic system rang out on Stark's plane. Knock on the door. Stark's face was ugly. This kind of feeling that he was a genius, but was hanged and beaten 8 streets was too uncomfortable. Wu Chen, we are Banner and Stark, come to visit. In the end, it was Banner who spoke up. In the laboratory of the Institute, Wu Chen received Banner's request. Sure enough, only by giving them a light barrier can they learn to be polite. Wu Chen stood up. Originally, there were no light barriers on this island. But at first Fury came over without a word. After that, Black Panther T'Challa also directly drove in the plane. Therefore, after Wu Chen completed the construction of the entire research institute, he set up this light energy barrier. Among all the defensive barriers in the super god universe, the light energy barrier is regarded as one of the garbage. But even this most rubbish defensive barrier can block anyone who wants to break in without saying hello. Open the door for them and let them in. Wu Chen said. Stark and Banner are both genius scientists, let them enter the laboratory, in case. Supernatural technology took tens of thousands of years to form. Even a genius scientist, it is impossible to get it out at once. Wu Chen paused for a while and then added, furthermore, all truly high-level supernatural technologies have encryption programs that no one can see except me. Understood. The genetic system answered, and at the same time, a hole was opened above the island. Without the barrier of light energy, Stark and Banner entered the research institute built by Wu Chen. When the plane landed, Stark and Banner couldn't wait to enter the research room where Thor and others were. The entire island occupied by Wu Chen is actually divided into 5 parts. Peripheral defense mechanisms, including light barriers and other defense devices set up by Wu Chen. Behind the light barrier is a leisure and accommodation area, where Wu Chen rests on weekdays. Then there is the Institute, which is the center of the entire island. The outermost layer is the research room, which contains the data information that has been monitored in the world and even the entire universe set by the big clock. Through the holographic diffraction pattern, it can intuitively show Wu Chen all the information he wants to find. The second floor is the laboratory, where Wu Chen is now the laboratory, which is a room that is only used when manufacturing various equipment and high-level analytical substances such as the current reality gem. And at the bottom, what is hidden there is the real supernatural technology. At the lowest level, the big clock has a super encryption program in place to prevent outsiders from snooping in any form. The eyes of Heimdall and Odin cannot see, nor can the Ancient One and other possible time travelers enter to observe. Although that layer of Wu Chen is rarely used, there is no doubt that it is the most critical place in Wuchen's island. Now, Stark entered the most surface research room. But what he saw here had already shocked him. This is too scary. Stark sighed. As long as you stand here, the world's secrets will no longer be secrets, and even whoever does small tricks with whom will be spied on. When Stark said this, he really let him find a picture. It's just that the picture was mosaic. This was specially set by Wuchen, because he didn't want to accidentally see such a picture. But there is no doubt that the big clock can easily do this. Originally we thought that this was just a record collection of what happened in the past, but it has just been confirmed that it can be monitored in real time. Foster said, I installed the latest anti-surveillance system in the Stark building, and they were all monitored clearly. Then on this Earth, where are there any secrets? Stark is very concerned about this. I have no interest in your privacy. Wuchen's voice came. Both Stark and Banner came, and he couldn't continue to study the TIE particles in the laboratory. Then why are you monitoring global data? Stark questioned. The big clock will record itself, and I only get the information I need when I need it. Wuchen said, and came to the holographic diffraction pattern at the same time. Get what you need. You've asked other people's opinions, and have they agreed? Stark looked a little excited. Do you need to ask him to agree in advance when you locate someone who is going to attack you? Wuchen asked back. I let you come here just because I'm hospitable, but if you're here to find fault, I don't mind beating you up and sending you away. Wuchen's words are expressing his attitude. Okay, Tony, we're just here to understand the situation, there's no need to make the atmosphere so tense. Banner opened his mouth to persuade. By the way, Thor, what are you doing here? Banner looked at Thor, who wanted to change the subject. We've learned that an evil alien race is coming, so we're staying here for now. Thor replied, alien race, is it the Chitauri Legion again? Stark's face changed dramatically, and Banner became serious. It's not the Chitauri, it's the Dark Elves that existed in ancient times. Thor replied, Dark Elves, what are they doing on Earth? Stark asked, in order to get TIE particles, and then use the energy of TIE particles to change the entire universe and make the universe fall into darkness. Thor replied, TIE particles, what are those? Banner asked. A powerful substance born in the beginning of the universe, it has the power to rewrite reality. Foster replied, another force that can destroy the world. Stark thought of Tesseract. Alert, there is abnormal energy in the atmosphere. The big clock monitors the data, and the genetic system sends a signal to Wuchen in time. Wuchen also has no intention of paying attention to Stark and others. Next, he has to fight against those who want to snatch TIE particles from his own hands. Big clock, give me the coordinates of the abnormal energy point. Wuchen said, and the big clock immediately began to execute the instructions he gave. Stark, Banner, and Thor, they all understood at this moment that war was coming. The target has been locked, and it is 3,000 meters above the island. The big clock quickly locked onto the target. Open the wormhole for me. Wuchen said, an invisible wormhole immediately appeared in front of Wuchen. Wuchen raised his right hand, and a golden ball of light the size of a baseball file formed immediately. With the wave of his right hand, the ball of light flew into the wormhole. Boom! There was a loud noise, and above the island, a huge spaceship in an invisible state was directly hit by the light ball. On the holographic projection, the picture above is displayed. The spaceship of the Dark Elves that was originally invisible has now been revealed. The outer shell of the spacecraft is very strong and large, and there is no radiation micro-flare bombardment, which cannot be destroyed. It is recommended to use medium-sized flare bombing. The genetic system warned. Wait, what flare bombing? Banner hurriedly spoke, because he felt the gamma rays contained in the ball of light that Wuchen just threw. I heard Natasha Romanoff mention that you can use a nuke-like ability. The one just now is non-radiation, but if you use a larger scale, wouldn't the radiation generated be at the level of a nuclear bomb? Absolutely not. It's not far from New York City. Once a nuclear explosion of that scale occurs, the radiation will affect many people. What Banner said had made Stark and Foster understand what was going on. I'm not that stupid yet, using a nuclear explosion level attack on my doorstep. Wuchen said. Then, that's fine. Banner at the moment realized that he was too excited. The holographic projection showed that a large number of small fighter planes flew out of the spaceship, and they were impacting the light energy barrier on the periphery of the island. After they found that the light energy barrier could not penetrate, many of them began to scatter and fly towards the city. Stark, let's go and kill those guys. Thor picks up Thor's hammer. It doesn't take so much effort. Wu Chen said casually. Big Clock, open the defense and counterattack system. Chapter 11. Wu Chen gave the order. On this island, Wu Chen doesn't just have a light barrier. At this moment, as the big clock turns on the defensive counterattack system, the weapons hidden around the island are gradually revealed. One after another, the lasers shot out from the ground. One missile after another rose from the sea. This firepower is not very dense, but the accuracy is beyond imagination. Each missile landed precisely on the aircraft. Every laser will also land on those huge amounts of mothership. It's possible to do this by just relying on artificial intelligence. Stark asked. Although the JARVIS he created can also control robots or something, but such weapons like Wu Chen can attack so many targets at the same time with such precision, and also have the ability to track wormholes, this is definitely not what JARVIS can do. I am not an artificial intelligence, but a super genetic system. The genetic system answered. Isn't it just a different name? Both are artificially created eyes to assist in management. Stark said. It's not the same. The genetic system said, but it did not introduce itself in detail. Wu Chen at the moment is watching the battle situation outside, and he is too lazy to pay attention to this little episode. That is, Wu Chen noticed a picture on the holographic diffraction pattern. It was a batch of bombs being thrown out of huge amounts of spaceships. Black hole bomb. Wu Chen's face changed slightly, he turned around and walked out of the house. When he got to the open space outside the house, he watched as those black hole bombs fell. Rumbling. As a large number of black hole bombs exploded together, the originally indestructible barrier of light energy actually had a gap. Those fighter jets hovering on the periphery immediately swarmed in. Even the huge mothership rushed in directly. Big Clock, open the second layer of space-time barriers. Wu Chen said, and a new energy barrier appeared on the periphery of the Institute. This energy barrier is based on the defense system of Angel Sky Blade series warships. However, Wu Chen's resources are insufficient, and the technology he masters is not enough. Therefore, this barrier, which is much stronger than the light energy barrier, is only set up around the Institute. The existence of the space-time barrier can ensure that the research institute will not be damaged in the first place, and that the items inside will not be affected. But the entire island outside was completely exposed to the artillery fire of the Dark Elves. It seems that it is impossible not to do it yourself. Wu Chen said, his hand grabbed in the space, and the spear appeared directly in his hand. Immediately afterwards, a suit of armor made of vibranium appeared on Wu Chen's body. This is Wu Chen's first time, fully armed to fight. Everyone in the research room was shocked when they saw Wu Chen who looked like this. With his wings flapping behind his back, Wu Chen soared into the sky. Those fighter planes that were not destroyed by missiles were all coming towards Wu Chen at this moment. Wu Chen threw his spear, and in the space behind it, more than 10 flying swords shot out at the same time. Each flying sword exudes red light, which is generated by the gathering of fixed star energy on it. The flying sword crossed, and the fighter jet was melted out of a large hole and dropped. Load, God-killing power. On the spear, crimson energy began to gather. That was Lu Chuang's God-killing power. Although Wu Chen has not been able to create the God-killing axe yet, he has implanted some function similar to the God-killing axe in the spear. Now, with the genes of the God of War, he has inspired the God-killing power in the spear, and is strengthening the attack power of the spear itself. Get off me! With an angry shout, the spear was thrown directly by Wu Chen. During the flight, the spear seemed to turn into a shooting star. Flashing red light, it passed through the center of the huge mothership in an instant. Boom! The moment the spear fell into the sea, a monstrous wave exploded. And the huge amounts of motherships are also changing. The core device of the mothership was destroyed, and the energy attached to the spear was further breaking down the structure of the mothership. What a terrifying power! Thor sighed. I now believe what he said before, that he can beat you anytime he wants. Foster whispered beside Thor. Previously, Wu Chen and Thor had a battle, and the two sides were evenly matched. After that, although Wu Chen had caused Thor to suffer from the time-space flare, Foster felt that if Thor could know in advance, he could just avoid it. But now, looking at such a huge mothership, several people were destroyed by Wu Chen with one move. Foster understood that if that shot fell on Thor, Thor would certainly not be able to hold it. Where the hell did this guy come from? Stark at the moment didn't know if it was shock or fear. He realized that Wu Chen's strength was completely beyond his imagination. The mothership of the Dark Elves was destroyed. Those in the spaceship, constantly swarming out. A big black man was crushing a spar in his hand. At that moment, his body burst out with powerful energy. In addition, Malakith also escaped in a fighter jet. Now, a large number of Dark Elves have landed on the outskirts of the island. Wu Chen lowered his height. He was standing in front of the gate of his own research institute, and the long spear thrown by him earlier had returned to his hands. Human with white wings, where did you come from? Malakith hovered the fighter in front of Wu Chen. Where did I come from? I don't need to tell. Wu Chen said. I feel the breath of TIE particles from your body. Is it in your hands now? What Malakith really cares about is TIE particles. But he also understands how powerful Wu Chen is. There is no grievance between you and me. I don't know if you can return TIE particles to me. I will fulfill your wish afterward and let you live the life you want. Malakith said, TIE particles are in my hands, why do I need you to help me realize my wish? Wu Chen smiled. The meaning of this Malakith is nothing more than to use TIE particles to change the reality and help him realize his wish. But TIE particles are in Wu Chen's hands. If he wants, he can change the reality. The ether is something that belongs to our Dark Elves, and no one can control it except me. Malakith was stunned by Wu Chen's understanding of TIE particles, but he still tried his best to restrain himself, hoping to get TIE particles from Wu Chen smoothly. No one can control it but you. Wu Chen smiled. Although TIE particles are extremely unstable in energy, it is not difficult to control them. On the contrary, Malakith, his own control of TIE particles, is the real garbage. Enough to alter reality, TIE particles with the power to destroy the world. In the hands of Malakith, there is only one known to turn the universe into darkness. When facing Thor, he doesn't even know how to fight with TIE particles. Sorry, these TIE particles can be controlled in my hands as well. Before Wu Chen spoke, the TIE particles had appeared in the palm of his left hand. Although Wu Chen's research time is very short, the understanding of TIE particles is not enough. However, simply harnessing and manipulating its power, Wu Chen can do the same. No, that's impossible. Malakith was completely panicked. TIE particles, which he thought only he could control, was now easily controlled by Wu Chen. Nothing is impossible, Wu Chen said. TIE particles have been taken back by him again. You think I'm impossible, just because you have too little knowledge, not because of how powerful you are. Wu Chen's words directly hit Malakith's heart. I do not believe. Malakith shook his head desperately. Curse the warrior, help me tear him to shreds. Malakith said. Yes, the cursed warrior who was transformed by the spar directly charged at Wu Chen. It is said that the cursed warrior has power beyond the gods of Asgard. I would like to see how strong your power is. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he took the initiative to retract his wings and landed on the ground. The cursed warrior roared, his fist raised, and he hit Wu Chen. Wu Chen stood on the spot, a powerful force filled his body. The god of war, Nuo Xing, is invincible. At this moment, the gene of the god of war of Nuo Xing began to burst out with its domineering. What? With the same roar, Wu Chen punched out from the same angle. Fist and fist collided in midair. The cursed warrior who charged aggressively, suddenly flew backwards at this moment. His strength is strong, but Wu Chen's strength is even stronger. With this blow, Wu Chen was as steady as Mount Tai, but the cursed warrior was like leaves in the wind. The moment he landed, a big pit was smashed out on the beach. The so-called invincible cursed warrior, in just an instant, has become a dead warrior, a warrior of death. Quick, give me a black hole bomb and burn him and the island to the ground. Malakith panicked, and he gave orders to all the Dark Elves loudly. However, most of the Dark Elves were as panicked as Malakith. Those soldiers hesitated and did not dare to go forward, they were all afraid to confront Wu Chen head-on. A bunch of useless trash. Malakith cursed angrily, took out a black hole bomb, and threw it at Wu Chen. Wu Chen still didn't move, but the wormhole appeared. The wormhole moved the black hole bomb in the first place. When the bomb exploded, it happened to be right next to Malakith. Do not. A final whimper. Malakith was swallowed by the black hole bomb he threw, and he finally got his wish and fell into darkness forever. Malakith was dead, and the cursed warrior was gone, and the entire Dark Elf family began to flee. The big clock has detected that there is a special substance in the Dark Elves. The voice of the genetic system resounded in Wu Chen's mind. Special substance. Wu Chen looked at the fleeing Dark Elves suspiciously. The big clock only detected an anomaly, and I don't know what it is for the time being. The genetic system answered. After thinking for a while, Wu Chen made a choice. System, track every Dark Elves for me, and send them all to the edge of the solar system. Wu Chen said. The wormhole algorithm is ready to start tracking transfers. The genetic system replied. The operation of the big clock has been turned on. You're sending them to the edge of the solar system. Stark came out of the institute. They were originally born in the dark race, and letting them return to the darkness can be regarded as a destination. Wu Chen said. Are you so kind? Stark doubts this. So, you want me to kill them all and make the Dark Elves go extinct? Wu Chen asked back. I didn't say that. Stark was slightly embarrassed. If it weren't for the kind of cold-blooded and ruthless people, it would not be easy to do this kind of thing to exterminate a group. Okay, the big play is over, you should go. Wu Chen looked at Thor and others. Aren't you going to celebrate after such a big battle? Thor doesn't want to go yet, so delays in their Asgard fashion. I want to stay with you, I don't know if you agree. Banner stepped forward, he was more direct than the others. You want to stay here? Why? Wu Chen looked at Banner. I've been looking for a safe place for so many years, and now I know the safest place in the world. Banner said. Do you want to stay with me for a long time? Wu Chen now understood what Banner meant. Hulk is a ticking time bomb, he could explode at any time. Banner said. In other places, once Hulk is out of control, it will be a disaster, but here, even if Hulk really runs wild, you must be able to find a way to restrain yourself. Oh, you really look up to me. Wu Chen sneered, feeling a little dumbfounded for Banner's recognition. Others' recognition of their own strength may be a way to stay away, or to worship new students. But Banner recognized Wu Chen's strength because he felt that Wu Chen could help him control the runaway Hulk. I saw the 2 layers of protective barriers you set up outside the research institute and the island. Their defenses are very strong. I believe that even Hulk can't break them. Banner said. You have good eyesight. Wu Chen admired Banner's mind. Light energy barriers and space-time barriers are difficult to destroy simply by brute force, especially the space-time barriers. Unless the algorithm I set up can be cracked, no matter how strong the attack method is, it cannot be destroyed. Wu Chen said. Light energy barrier, space-time barrier. Stark charged with both names. He is also a genius scientist, and like Banner, he can see the strength of these 2 barriers. However, he couldn't understand why these 2 barriers were formed in any way, and what was the principle. Light energy barrier is a protective shield formed by the conversion of fixed star energy. Unless it exceeds the original light energy barrier in power, it is difficult to destroy by brute force. The voice of the genetic system came out, answering everyone's doubts. The space-time barrier is formed by a huge wormhole algorithm. Unlike the pure energy barrier, it cannot be cracked by any brute force. Using wormholes to form a barrier. This is too advanced. Foster was surprised. No, I'm staying here too. Foster also had his own decisions. No, Jane, what are you doing here? Thor looked at Foster puzzled. You know, I've been working on Einstein-Rosen bridges, or wormholes, for so long, and now that wormhole technology is right in front of me, how could I possibly give up? Jane said that she was able to get to know Thor because she ran into him in the process of researching wormholes. Then if you stay, I will stay too. Thor is worried that Foster will stay here alone, because he will remember the scene where Wu Chen took Foster's hand and came out of the different space. I'm staying too. Daisy took the opportunity to make a statement. As for Daisy's assistant, he had been shocked by the scenes of the two wars, and he would never want to stay. You all want to stay. But I don't support idlers here. Wu Chen said that his research institute is not small, but for so long, he has been living here alone. You can leave us alone, we will take care of ourselves. After Foster finished speaking, Daisy said another sentence. Maybe we can take care of you by the way. Among the 6 people in front of him, 4 want to stay. Although Stark didn't say he would stay, he would probably come over from time to time in the future. Wu Chen knew that it was obviously impossible for him to continue living quietly on this island from now on. But when you think about it, that doesn't seem like a bad thing. For more than a year, Wu Chen has lived quietly by himself, but this quietness is accompanied by loneliness. Humans are gregarious animals. Even if they become super warriors, Wu Chen is still human. It's good to have a few more people around. However, this is not suitable for everyone. After all, Wu Chen is a super soldier and the strongest technology god in the future. Banner is indeed a suitable candidate. Foster and Thor. Forget it, if you want to stay, just stay. In the end, Wu Chen only threw out this sentence. Banner was relieved, but Foster and Daisy were inexplicably excited. Banner, it's really a good choice for you to stay here, but Project Veronica, we should continue. Stark said. Well, I also think that the project should continue. Banner nodded. Then, I'll move the research and design studio here too. With that, Stark summoned a suit of armor. The plane he took when he came earlier was destroyed when the Dark Elves attacked, and now Stark can only use his armor to fly. Actually, he also wants to stay here, right? Daisy said after watching Stark fly away. Tony is a proud guy, and while he's curious about the technology here, he doesn't want to be too obvious. Banner said. As a scientist, no one would dislike this place. Banner raised his head and looked at the corpses of the Dark Elves that were disappearing. There is no one to clean up the battlefield, not even the machines. But those corpses, those shattered wreckages of fighter planes, are disappearing one by one. Before today, Banner must have no idea how all this happened. But now, he knew what was going on. Although the big clock is invisible, its ability can be manifested at any time. At the moment must be the big clock behind the scenes, through the wormhole technology, sorting out the entire battlefield outside the island. This is the palace of science. All the technologies that we have suspected but have not been confirmed, seem to have been realized here one by one. Foster said. This is also a safe harbor. With Wu Chen here, I can finally rest in peace for a while. Banner has never been more relaxed. Rumbling. Suddenly, the sky was covered with dark clouds. Everyone looked up to the sky. Then, a rainbow of light descended from the sky, passed through the light barrier that was still being repaired, and landed in front of Thor. Hongwang Ne is Fandral, one of the 3 warriors of Asgard. Thor, I am here on Odin's orders to summon you back to Asgard. Fandral said. Did something happen? Thor asked. I'm just in charge of conveying orders. I don't know what's going on. Fandral replied. All right. Thor looked back at Foster. Jane, I have to go back to Asgard. I'll come back when I'm sure Asgard is all right. Understood, as long as you don't leave this time for 2 years. Foster understood that Thor was the god of Asgard after all, and he couldn't stay on Earth forever. Will not, Thor said. Then go, I'll wait for you here. Foster said. Daisy, help me take care of her. Thor warned Daisy beside him, and reluctantly came to Fandral's side. The dark clouds reappeared in the sky, and soon, the Bifrost descended again. When Bifrost disappeared, Thor and Fandral disappeared. Not long after Thor left, Stark returned. This time Stark was not alone, but with a group of people. These guys helped bring in a lot of equipment and machinery from the Stark building. The reason that Stark clearly stated was to complete the construction of Veronica with Banner, and naturally he had to do enough work on the surface. So, he moved everything in that factory. Fortunately, the island of Wu Chen is not small, and the buildings built before are also big enough. Although many of these things that Stark moved, they only accounted for a small part of the research institute. For several days after that, the whole island was more lively than ever. Both Foster and Daisy are in Wu Chen's laboratory all day long, learning about wormholes through the holographic diffraction pattern set there by the big clock. Stark and Banner are busy getting their studio out. As for Wu Chen, he is still working on TIE particles. But in his spare time, he would still return to the outer layers of the Institute. At this time, Wu Chen can feel the fireworks that belong to normal human beings. Some people are noisy, some people can talk, although it is only very boring topics. But it's still better than in the past, when Wu Chen could only chat with the genetic system. Wu Chen, you are too stingy. Outside the research institute, in the rest shed just built, Daisy was complaining. I let you live here for free, am I still stingy? Wu Chen looked at Daisy angrily. This guy can't be that cheeky, can he? I didn't say that, Daisy said. I mean that wormhole theory, you have mastered it all, but you didn't tell Jane, look at her now. When Daisy said this, she also motioned Wu Chen to look at Foster, who was thinking hard not far away. It's almost crazy. Daisy's last words were deliberately lowered. The wormhole algorithm is very difficult to achieve by relying on the human body. Even if I told her, it was difficult for her to understand. Wu Chen said, aren't you human too? Daisy's words blurted out. But she soon realized that she was wrong. Haha, I forgot, you can't be considered a normal person. I'm a super soldier. My genes come with a wormhole algorithm, and I also have a big clock to cooperate with each other. Wu Chen said. Then Jane, let her concentrate on her current research, starting from the most basic, step-by-step understanding and demonstration, in order to finally understand the truth of the wormhole. It's not that Wu Chen refused to tell Jane about the wormhole directly, because he knew that even if he told Foster that knowledge, she would not be able to control the wormhole. Therefore, instead of doing useless work, it is better to let her play freely from the beginning. Starting from the simplest theory, as long as the foundation is laid, it is a matter of course to truly understand the wormhole technology later. Well, the world of you geniuses is beyond my comprehension. Daisy gave up. She's just staying here because it's fun, she doesn't want to get in like Foster and can't get out. You're in a good mood. Wu Chen said. Your mentality is very strange. Take a look at Wu Chen. How am I to blame? Wu Chen asked back. At the beginning, you didn't seem to like the big guy staying, but these days, you have come out for a while almost every day to eat and chat with us. Isn't it strange? Daisy said. No one in this world likes being alone. I am like that, and so does Banner. Wu Chen said. In the past, Dr. Banner just wanted to stay alone, but that was because Banner was afraid that he would become Hulk and hurt the people around him. Wu Chen stayed on the island alone before, because he was focusing on researching supernatural technology at that time. Although the current Wu Chen also puts his mind on the research of super god technology, he still likes the feeling of being popular. Speaking of which, everyone on this island has friends, but you are alone. Daisy said, and then directly gave Wu Chen an inventory. Though Thor isn't here, but Jane and I are good friends. On Banner's side, Stark comes to him almost every day to study Veronica with him. It's just you seem to be a little out of tune with everyone. Daisy's words made Wu Chen fall into silence. He is indeed alone. In this world, he has no real friends, let alone people who are more intimate. Daisy, Foster, Banner, and Stark have all been on the island recently though. But the relationship between the four of them and Wu Chen is actually very unfamiliar. Stark, Banner, and Foster were left for technology research. Daisy stayed to play under the guise of research. In short, when everyone stays, they have their own purpose, not because they have a good relationship with Wu Chen. I think you're quite lonely like this. Would you like me to introduce you to a girlfriend? Daisy asked suddenly. Girlfriend. Wu Chen repeated these three words. There are some very beautiful girls in my university who. People who can be my girlfriend can't be ordinary people. Wu Chen interrupted Daisy's words. At this moment, an idea occurred in Wu Chen's heart, an idea about his girlfriend. I still have research to do, so let's go first. Wu Chen dropped this sentence, and then walked straight towards the research institute. Stark, who had just come over here, looked at Wu Chen who left the institute without saying a word, and looked at Daisy curiously. What happened to him? I think I said something wrong. Daisy answered with some guilt. Say wrong. Stark was even more curious. I just said he has no friends. Daisy said. That's right, he really has no friends. Stark recognizes this too, but it's always a little rude to say such things in front of people, right? Daisy said. I think he turned around suddenly and left because of your last sentence. Foster also came over. She was not far away when she heard the conversation between Daisy and Wu Chen. The last sentence. Daisy looked at Foster hesitantly. Girlfriend. Ah, Daisy froze, and Stark looked at her with interest, his heart of gossip burning. Return to the 3rd floor below the Institute. This is the most secret place on the entire island. The core operating system of the big clock is set here, and those really powerful supernatural technologies are also here. Big clock, if I want to summon the super warriors in the super god universe here, can I do it? Wu Chen asked. That's why he just came back in a hurry. Cannot. Big clock's answer is straightforward. Doesn't it mean that as long as there is a super genetic code, even after a super soldier is destroyed, it can be revived? Wu Chen asked. Super genetic code can indeed be done to a certain extent, so that super soldiers will not die. The big clock answered. But this kind of immortality is only theoretical, because there are actually many conditions to implement it. First, the super genetic code must exist and be uploaded to the dark matter plane of the universe. For example, the crocodile god Thornton, when he was created, his genetic code had already been saved by Death God Karl, so after Angel chased and destroyed it with the Sky Blade Judgment, Death God Karl could still use his pre-saved super genes. The data is summoned again. In the super god universe, in fact, all high-level gods have this method. Keisha, Liang Bing, Hexi and the 3 major god-building projects. But so far, the only ones who can really reactivate dead super soldiers through dark data are Death God Karl and Holy Keisha. The latter ignores life and death and ignores law, so you see Thornton's rebirth. Holy Keisha will not reactivate their super genetic code after the fall of those angel warriors because of the law of justice and respect for life. Definitely, there are exceptions. For example, Angel Yan, Angel Juxin, and Angel Ah Chai, because they shoulder the responsibility of guarding the rise of the new King of Angel, they were activated by Keisha's super genetic code, and they were even equipped with a void engine. The explanation of the big clock is very detailed. Wu Chen also understood the so-called limitation. If a super soldier wants to be reborn through the super genetic code, he needs to upload and record the super genetic code in advance. But these so-called super genetic codes are all stored in the super god universe. This is the Marvel movie universe. The 2 universes are not the same. Those uploaded data cannot be activated here. Ah, with a long sigh, Wu Chen's heart was full of regrets. The detailed genetic data of each super soldier is recorded in the big clock. Perhaps you can rebring those super soldiers in this world through genetic engineering. The big clock reminded. Who a person is not determined by her appearance and ability, but by her past experience. Wu Chen remembered the lines from a TV series he watched before. It seems that you have a choice in your heart. The big clock's name for Wu Chen has changed. Out of respect for you, I can tell you a message. When the time is right, you may be able to open the door to the supernatural world. It's just that opportunities and crises often coexist. Whether opening the door is good or bad, no one can be sure. The words of the big clock made Wu Chen ponder again. A gateway to another world. It's not as simple as opening a door, and it's likely to be accompanied by huge amounts of danger. What Wu Chen wants to chase is eternity. Whether such a big risk is worth taking is really hard to consider. Okay, let's not talk about it for now. Wu Chen changed the subject. Tell me about the monitoring of those people these days. Wu Chen asked. After Stark and others stayed on the island, the big clock never stopped monitoring them. The so-called defense against others is indispensable. Wu Chen was not related to these people, so how could he be completely at ease with them? They are not evil people, but they are not very polite. In one sentence, the big clock evaluated everyone. Irrational. Are you talking about Daisy saying I'm stingy and have no friends? Wu Chen asked back. And every time Stark came and went, he never asked you for instructions. The big clock added. Then find time to cause some trouble for Stark and let him know what's going to happen to him. Wu Chen said. What about Daisy? A little girl who is open-mouthed, do you still want to seal her mouth? Okay, then let her get seriously ill, let her be for a week, and she won't be able to say anything. When the big clock's voice fell, it was arranged immediately. Ah, Wu Chen was slightly stunned, but he did not expect that the artificial intelligence system of the big clock would be so decisive. In the early morning of the next day, Wu Chen found out that Daisy was ill, and it was a throat problem. It was really hard to say. As for Stark, the moment he directly entered the research institute, he was transported directly to a strange planet by a wormhole in the space-time barrier, and spent a full day there before finding his way back. The mischief of the big clock made Wu Chen's distress that he couldn't summon the people from the super-divine universe completely disappeared. Moreover, Stark and Daisy really settled down a lot in the days that followed. Stark greets each time before coming. Daisy also pays a little attention when she speaks. What do I think, Stark? He was sent to another planet, you did it. Banner came to Wu Chen's laboratory, and the two looked at the stars in the sky together. This is a way that Banner often relaxes himself. Wu Chen had nothing to do today, so he also followed him. He also brought a pot of good longjing by the way. You know, Stark must understand that too. Wu Chen said. Understood, how could someone as smart as him not understand? As Banner spoke, he picked up the tea and smelled it. It smells so good, and it smells so refreshing. Banner sighed. Do you feel more relaxed than when you practice yoga? Wu Chen said. I've been pretty relaxed these days. Banner said. Have you ever thought that, in fact, you should take the initiative to let Hulk out from time to time? Wu Chen was talking, and Banner was obviously taken aback when he heard what he said. In Banner's eyes, Hulk is a monster that only knows how to destroy. Everyone shunned Hulk, even Banner himself. But at this moment, Wu Chen actually said that Hulk should take the initiative. Hulk brings huge amounts of destruction every time he shows up, What about the New York War? Wu Chen's rhetorical question caused Banner to fall silent. The situation at that time was indeed something that Banner did not expect. Hulk is under control, and has also played a huge amount of role in the battle against alien invasion. You might think Hulk is a monster, but in reality, he's just a kid. Child, Banner looked at Wu Chen in astonishment. How long has Hulk been born? How long has he really lived in this world since he was born? Wu Chen asked back. Banner didn't know how to answer. Hulk hasn't been around for a long time, and every time he appears is still very short. In fact, he doesn't know anything about this world. Wu Chen continued with his insights. A newly born child who doesn't know anything about the outside world, but a group of people attacked him at this time. Do you think he will stand there obediently and let you beat him? You mean, Hulk's previous actions were passive counterattacks? Banner asked back. Not all, but destruction is not his intention. Wu Chen said. But every time he appeared, he would wreak havoc, even when he ran rampant in a place where no one was around. Banner said. That's another key point I'm going to address. Wu Chen said, and this time, Banner chose to be quiet and listen to Wu Chen explain his views. Hulk is a normal person and he has his own emotions. He always wanted to come out into the outside world because he was curious about the world. And every time he appears, he goes berserk because of prolonged depression. Just imagine, if you were caught and locked up by me, and you were not allowed to go to the outside world for the rest of your life, would you also want to kill me? If you know you can't kill me or find me, do you also vent your emotions on the things around you that you can touch? Wu Chen's two questions made Banner ponder. An ignorant child has been treated unfairly again. The most important thing is that he was born with powerful strength and strange appearance, which made everyone around him misunderstand him. You always say that Hulk is a disaster, but you don't know that you created the disaster yourself, not the original Hulk. After Wu Chen said this, he waited for Banner to think. Banner is a genius, and he can easily understand things like this. However, Banner still had concerns. He was worried that if Wu Chen guessed wrong, then his decision would bring the world into a disaster. I see, you still have concerns. When Wu Chen spoke, he put down the teacup in his hand and stood up. As he waved his right hand, a wormhole appeared in front of him. This is a planet that Stark has been to before. There is no intelligent life there. We can go there and find a place without animals, and then try to release Hulk. Wu Chen said. Banner still had concerns in his heart, but he also wanted to give it a try. What if Wu Chen is right? If Hulk is really not a monster, then the existence of Hulk will be a great thing for the Earth. By that time, Hulk will be the protector of Earth. Okay, I'll go with you. Banner stood up and walked into the wormhole first. Wu Chen quickly followed. The position where the two were standing at the moment was an island in the center of the sea. This is an uninhabited planet, found by the Great Clock while exploring the extraterrestrial world. At the same time, it is also the closest living planet to Earth. It's safe here, you can try and get Hulk out, Wu Chen said. But, what should I do? In the past, Banner tried his best to avoid letting Hulk come out. Now that Banner is suddenly asked to release Hulk himself, he really doesn't know what to do. Just relax, I'll take care of the rest, Wu Chen said. All right, Banner nodded, then closed his eyes and began to try to relax completely. Seeing Banner entering the state, Wu Chen raised his right hand and aimed his palm at Hulk's forehead. System, activate the Hulk gene in Banner's body and try to wake it up, Wu Chen said in his mind. The genetic system immediately began to try. Soon, Banner's body began to change. The Hulk lurking in Banner's genes is recovering. Finally, with a roar, Hulk appeared. However, this time Hulk didn't go berserk. He looked around and finally focused on Wu Chen. You asked Banner to let me out. When Hulk was sleeping, he had a certain perception ability for the outside world, so he probably knew what Wu Chen said to Banner. Yes, Wu Chen nodded. Thank you so much. Hulk struggled to say those two words. Although every time he appeared in the past, he was in a runaway state. But he is not a completely emotionless animal. Wu Chen trusted Hulk and allowed Hulk to emerge from Banner's shackles, which was enough to make Hulk grateful to him. Then now, change back and let Banner come out, Wu Chen said. No, I'm not going back. It was rare for Hulk to come out once, so how could he be willing to go back? What, do you want to keep occupying this body? Wu Chen asked. Banner is weak, Hulk is strong, and Hulk should be the master, Hulk said, waving his fists, showing off his incomparably strong body. If that's the case, then I can only call you back. After Wu Chen finished speaking, his wings had spread behind his back, and he was also wearing armor. Hulk doesn't want to break you, Hulk said. You can't beat me, because you are not as strong as me, Wu Chen said. Invincible Hulk. Hulk has absolute confidence in his own strength. All right then, let's have a fight, Wu Chen said. If you win, I won't let Banner come out in the future. It is good, Hulk agreed without thinking. But if you lose, when you come out in the future, I have the final say, Wu Chen added. Hulk is not going to lose. In Hulk's heart, he was already excited for the freedom in the future. Then let's do it. Let me see how strong the invincible Hulk is. Wu Chen stood there, but the big clock had already started to calculate Hulk's strength. As with Thor, Wu Chen has many ways to win. But today, Wu Chen wants Hulk to admit defeat, and the best way to get him to admit defeat is to use the way Hulk is best at knocking him down. The power of the Hulk is volatile, and it keeps getting stronger as the mood increases, said the genetic system. I know this. What I want you to do for me is real-time data, Wu Chen said. I'll use the big clock to record all the real-time data so you can see it afterwards. The genetic system speaks. Wu Chen also understands that it is very difficult for a creature like Hulk to calculate the value of its strength in real time. Bring it on, Hulk shouted. His figure quickly stepped forward, and his right hand exploded a strong blow with extremely strong force, hitting Wu Chen. Wu Chen didn't step back or dodge. He also raised his right hand, and energy began to gather in his fist. The fist, slammed out, collided head-on with Hulk's fist in midair. At this moment, Wu Chen and Hulk both stepped backwards almost simultaneously. Hulk looked at Wu Chen in surprise. Wu Chen was also shocked by the power of Hulk at this moment. Although Wu Chen of at the moment is only the second generation, he has the genes of the god of war, the light of the sun and other powerful super genes in his body. In this situation, Wu Chen's power is absolutely invincible in the super god universe. But this power did not prevail when facing Hulk. The strength of the blow just now was close to 100 tons. The voice of the genetic system resounded in Wu Chen's mind. It's not at Hulk's limit, not even when he's really angry, Wu Chen said, and he was ready for the next blow. Hulk rushed in quickly. This time, Hulk was obviously angrier than before. Although Hulk made his move at the beginning, he thought that Wu Chen made him come out, so he was just an ordinary attack. But now, Hulk doesn't want to go back, so he's going to do his best. Boom. It was another confrontation. When the punches of the two collided in midair, a powerful energy impact was produced. The spreading air waves created gusts of wind around them. The ground beneath the two of them shattered, and the entire island seemed to be affected, causing slight vibrations. The super gene is under extremely powerful impact. The gene of the god of war is less than the third generation, and it is difficult to fully exert it. It is recommended to start the upgrade program immediately. The genetic system warned. Although the third generation has been adapted, it is not yet fully prepared. Will the upgrade at this time affect the development of the overall genetic energy? Wu Chen asked. He is more than just a gene of the god of war. The power of the galaxy, the rose of time and space, the light of the sun, the fighting over the Buddha, the power of angel, the demon's heart, all these powerful abilities he does not want to miss. Genetic program adaptation testing. Super Gene started a full-scale aptitude test. Outside, Wu Chen and Hulk are separated again. In the collision just now, the power of the two fell to Wu Chen. Although it was only a slight disadvantage, it was enough to prove the strength of Hulk's power. Sure enough, in terms of sheer power, Hulk is one of the best in the entire Marvel movie universe. In the movie, only Thanos was the one who deflated Hulk through force. The Super Gene adaptation test has been completed, and the synchronous improvement in all aspects has been accepted. The big clock has drawn up an upgrade plan. The genetic system said, and then a new upgrade plan has been communicated by the big clock. Now that it's done, let's get started, Wu Chen said. And after his voice fell, his whole body began to fall into a new state. That is a self-upgrade process. He floated uncontrollably into the air, a layer of purple-black energy lingering around his body. Every cell tissue in the body is changing at this moment. The super gene is further upgrading and strengthening. As the last golden light burst out from Wu Chen's body, Wu Chen's upgrade has been completed. As a super soldier increases, each level brings huge amounts of change. From the first generation to the second generation, although there is not much difference in the eyes of the gods, the second generation will be far greater than the first generation in terms of the magnitude of energy and its own defense. The upgrade of the third generation is completely incomparable to the previous two generations. If the second generation is upgraded from recruits to veterans, then the third generation is from soldier to general. That's not just an increase in strength, but a sublimation of the whole. It's a wonderful feeling. This huge and full of power seems to be completely inexhaustible. Wu Chen sighed with emotion. When the super gene enters the third generation, it can truly rely on energy to achieve eternity. That is, as long as the super gene in its body is not destroyed and the energy in the universe is not completely exhausted, the third generation will never die. The gene system said, and these words made Wu Chen extremely excited. Eternity, this is Wu Chen's pursuit. But soon he calmed down. The so-called eternity is only theoretical, based on the infinity of light energy, based on the infinity of dark energy. No matter what it is, there are preconditions. Moreover, the third generation will be killed. No matter what your longevity and Tianqi, if you are not strong enough and you are stabbed with a knife, how long can you have a longevity and you still care about it? The key to immortality is immortality. Only by making sure to live forever can you truly achieve eternity. And if you want to never die, you have to have the strength to fight against death. That is, even in the face of any threat, Wu Chen can crush it. Only then can Wu Chen truly realize his desire to pursue eternity. System, turn on various functions of genes. Wu Chen said, he wanted to feel what his strength was at the moment. With the opening of the gene function, Wu Chen began to feel more clearly the improvement of the third generation. Wormhole operation is faster, thunder energy is more powerful, fixed star drive tends to be infinite. All the abilities that Wu Chen had mastered in the first place have become more convenient to use now. At the same time, he also generated huge amounts of images on the dark matter plane. That is the impression of the gods. When god-level genes such as the power of the galaxy and the god of war of Nuoxing use powerful powers, the dark energy coercion behind them is, from a certain point of view, produced by the impression of the gods. That is, the huge amounts of shadows that appeared behind the main gods when they used their means. This phenomenon also marks that the induction between Wuchen and the dark energy in the universe has become stronger and stronger. What's wrong with you? Hulk looked at Wuchen suspiciously. It's nothing, it's just that the super gene in the body was activated and a second upgrade was performed when I just played. Wuchen said. What? Hulk doesn't understand this. Do not have much left. Wuchen simply did not explain. Then hurry down and let's fight again. Hulk shouted at Wuchen. Just 2 times, the first time he was pinned, the second time he won, and Hulk was in high spirits. Wuchen landed to the ground. Come on, if you can suppress me this time, then I will admit defeat. Wuchen said. That's what you said, don't go back. Hulk said. Well, I don't regret it, just let it go. Wuchen nodded. This time, I will definitely not show mercy. Hulk is gearing up, he's ready to win or lose. At the moment, Wuchen, he was still standing there, waiting quietly. In the second generation, Wuchen failed to suppress Hulk in pure power, but now, he is the third generation. The essential difference between the third generation of super warriors and the second generation has made Wuchen's current power a leap forward. So, Wuchen knew that this time, he had the power to crush Hulk. Start, Hulk shouted, and rushed over. Just like the previous 2 times, he raised his hand and punched it violently. Wuchen hit back in the same way. Boom. At the moment when the explosion sounded, Wuchen was still there, but Hulk was thrown out. Hulk's power doesn't seem to be stronger than the previous blow. Said the genetic system. Hulk's strength comes from anger, but now he is in a state of excitement, which is the same as when Hulk fought Thor in the Colosseum. Wuchen said. That battle at the Colosseum was ultimately won by Thor, but it's impossible to say that Thor really surpassed Hulk in terms of power. Thor is the strongest among the early Avengers, but that's when he's blessed with divine power. But if there is no blessing of thunder power, then Hulk is the strongest. Now Hulk, because there is no blessing of rage, his power is not at its peak. In the distance, the Hulk, standing up again, started to lose his temper. Although he failed to completely win the previous 2 times, at most, he was shocked by Wuchen. But this time, Wuchen was still standing in the same place, but he was ejected. Hulk's bellicose nature makes it difficult for him to lose. Hulk refuses to accept, Hulk can be stronger. Hulk shouted and rushed to Wuchen again. Wuchen knew that if Hulk continued to attack endlessly, his power would become stronger and stronger, and it would never end. Therefore, Wuchen no longer waited for Hulk to come over this time. He jumped forward, clenched his hands into fists, and followed Hulk with a set of combined fists. Hulk's body is bigger than Wuchen, and his body is not as flexible as Wuchen. And Wuchen's current power is even stronger than Hulk's. In this state, Wuchen's set of punches made Hulk unable to fight back. With the last punch, Wuchen directly knocked Hulk to the ground. How? Who wins now? Wuchen asked. Hulk doesn't agree, Hulk doesn't want to disappear. Although Hulk was lying on the ground, he didn't intend to admit defeat. Do not admit defeat, and push harder and stronger, this is Hulk. I didn't say I wanted you to disappear. Wuchen said, reaching out to help Hulk up. Hulk sat cross-legged on the ground and looked at Wuchen suspiciously. You won't let me disappear. Didn't you say that if you lose, I will change back to Banner? Hulk asked. Yes, I mean let you change back to Banner, but it's only temporary, you can come out later. At this moment, Wuchen is like comforting a child. How long is that for now? Hulk pressed. Although you and Hulk are 2 people, they are both in the same body, and you were born later. You robbed him of his body. You can't always keep Banner from coming out, right? Wuchen asked back. But he didn't let me out before. Banner's words sounded a little aggrieved. I won't in the future. I'll let him and let you come out every once in a while. Wuchen continued to reassure. How long is it every once in a while? Hulk got a little excited. In this way, Banner will be out for 3 days, and you will be out for 1 day. If he has something to do and it takes a long time, then your out time will also be extended. Anyway, it's 3-1. Wuchen said. That won't work, I'm going to replace him. Hulk wasn't all stupid, but this body originally belonged to him, he was born first, so you have to share half of it, isn't that bad? Wuchen is trying to trick Hulk. I am stronger than Banner, and the stronger one will naturally come out more. Hulk said. If you are like this, it is estimated that Banner will still refuse to let you out in the future. Then I won't let him out. What did you say? When Wu Chen spoke, his face was solemn, which made Hulk a little depressed, because he was already a little afraid of Wu Chen because of the combination of punches that Wu Chen had just hit. I want the same time as Banner, Hulk said, but after seeing Wu Chen's ugly face, he answered again with a guilty conscience. At the very least, let me have some more time. He only has 1 day in 3 days, which is too little. This is Hulk's last stubbornness. Then, go back first, let Banner come out and let's discuss it. Wu Chen pretended to be hesitation. Big brother, Hulk believes in you, you will definitely help me. Hulk said solemnly. Well, let's go. Wu Chen nodded in agreement. Banner finally felt relieved after seeing this scene, and his body began to shrink. When Hulk changed back to Banner, Banner didn't fall into a state of disengagement and coma like before. Now, do you understand what's going on? Wu Chen asked. Because Hulk didn't show up in my angry state, he didn't go wild. As Banner spoke, he draped the towel that Wu Chen had thrown over his body. And myself, with Hulk voluntarily letting me out, I wouldn't take too much of a shock. Banner now understands the problem between him and Hulk. Like you said, Hulk is actually a person. It's just that he was born with a weird shape and powerful strength, so he was considered a monster by everyone, and he was so violent because he never received fair treatment. Banner suddenly felt that it was ridiculous that he was called a genius in the past. Such a simple thing. In fact, as long as he thinks about it a little bit, he can understand it. But so many years. For so many years, he had never thought to face Hulk's existence. It's not too late to know now. Wu Chen said. Hulk has agreed to alternate appearances with you in the future. But now, we still have a bit of a disagreement on the time, and I don't know what you think about it. Wu Chen asked, and Banner heard that Wu Chen had even negotiated with Hulk the timing of alternate appearances, which was going too fast. As long as he doesn't come out to destroy, even if he is alone for half the time. What I told him was that you came out for 3 days and he came out for 1 day. Wu Chen interrupted Banner's words. He agreed. Banner looked at Wu Chen expectantly. No, he feels that he has too little time to come out and is not happy. Wu Chen shook his head and said. Then now, give him 2 to 1. In the future, if you come out for 2 days, he will come out for 1 day. If you come out for 20 days at a time, he will come out for 10 days. Wu Chen directly mentioned Banner to make a choice. Will he agree? Banner looked at Wu Chen suspiciously. He will agree. Wu Chen's confident words made Banner suddenly realize a problem. With Hulk's character, how could it be so easy to agree to alternate appearances with Banner himself? Moreover, the deal hasn't been negotiated yet, how could Hulk let himself come out again? With the vague memory of sleeping, I saw the destroyed ground again. Did you tame Hulk? Banner asked. No, it was just a fight and he lost. Wu Chen said it casually, but when Banner heard it, he felt that the entire worldview was about to collapse. The most violent beast in history was tamed by Wu Chen in such a short period of time. Remember, Hulk isn't the type to throw in the towel when he's beaten. Although Wu Chen's strength is very strong, if he uses those advanced weapons and abilities to deal with Hulk, Hulk will not be obedient even if he is killed. Therefore, if Wu Chen wants to tame Hulk, Hulk must be defeated by Wu Chen in the strongest field, so he will be obedient. Mastering ultra-high technology, possessing powerful divine power, and rivaling Hulk in physical strength, isn't Wu Chen an all-around existence? Then now, you agreed, right? You will come out for 2 days and Hulk will come out for 1 day. Wu Chen said. I'll listen to you completely. Banner sighed with emotion. Before he transformed into Hulk again, he did not forget to complain. I feel like Hulk and I have to be planted in your hands for the rest of our lives. Wu Chen did not comment on this. But for now, that's the truth. Hulk now only listens to Wu Chen alone. If Banner is not restricted by Wu Chen, he may not be able to control Hulk. Furthermore, Wu Chen helped him solve the problem of Hulk's runaway, which was a great kindness to Banner originally. It seems to be good to take Banner and Hulk. Wu Chen thought to himself. Banner's mind in the field of science is excellent, and it should be helpful in Wu Chen's research afterward. Not to mention Hulk, a powerful fighter, with him in the future, he doesn't need to take action personally in some battles. Then, take you under my command, you are living with me now anyway. Wu Chen has made a decision. Hulk came out again, and for what Wu Chen said, he won it, and Hulk accepted the chance to come out with Banner too, one later. The wormhole opened, and Wu Chen and Hulk returned to the island where the Institute was located. Foster, Daisy, and Stark all came. They looked at Hulk with Wu Chen, and they were all dumbfounded. Hulk, you two are. Stark was the first to fight with Hulk, but when he was with Hulk, he didn't think it would be so easy. In the future, Hulk will be a regular here, Wu Chen said. What? Daisy was shocked. You mean, he wants to live on an island with us? Foster is just as hard to accept that a monster like Hulk exists. Hulk won't be angry, Hulk won't hit you. Hulk said, he's in a good mood now and doesn't care what their attitude is. Wu Chen, what exactly is this situation? Stark looked at Wu Chen and asked. Banner has negotiated with Hulk, and the two of them will appear in turn in the future. Wu Chen explained. So, the two of them finally found a way to live together peacefully. Stark turned worry into excitement. When he first met Banner, he had said that Banner was too cautious when dealing with Hulk's problems. He also made Banner, like him, should be more public. But Banner at that time did not take his suggestion because he felt that his idea was not feasible. Now, this vision has finally come true. Hulk and Banner can coexist peacefully. In the future, Hulk will be a major force to protect the Earth, and there will be no more threats. That's it, Wu Chen replied. That's great. Stark smiled as he came to Hulk's side. Hulk, how about we go for a drink? It is good. Hulk readily agreed. So, the two walked together like this and went to drink. Foster and Daisy looked at each other and eventually followed. Wu Chen did not participate, because now, he has to go back and learn more about the data and abilities after he upgraded the third-generation super soldier. For the next week, several people on the island revolved around Hulk. As compensation for Hulk's inability to come out in the past, this time Wu Chen specially gave Hulk a week so that he could spend a period of time as a normal person. A week later, Banner regained control of the body. Then Banner told Stark and the others about the situation that day. When they knew that it was because Wu Chen had defeated Hulk, Hulk would be obedient. Although everyone was surprised, they were all within the acceptable range. In the following time, Hulk and Banner always appeared alternately. Because Hulk appeared less time in the past, Banner took the initiative to give Hulk more opportunities to come out. But in short, the two sides are generally in accordance with Wu Chen's formulation, and the 2-1 policy is being implemented. Time, more than 2 months have passed in the blink of an eye. From S.H.I.E.L.D., a message for help came. It was from Rogers, but it was a paraphrase of what Fury meant. The general content is that the latent Hydra was discovered in S.H.I.E.L.D. Now S.H.I.E.L.D. is extremely chaotic. Fury hopes that Wu Chen can use his intelligence information and the power of Stark and Hulk to help S.H.I.E.L.D. solve this crisis. I didn't expect that S.H.I.E.L.D. was infiltrated by Hydra, this is ironic. Stark looked at the message and sighed. S.H.I.E.L.D. has been protecting global security for the past few decades. If it is destroyed at this time, I am afraid that it will be a catastrophic change for the Earth originally. Banner said, I don't like them anyway. What agents are doing little tricks behind their backs? Two ordinary people, Foster and Daisy, actually didn't like this kind of agent organization. In particular, the past S.H.I.E.L.D. had forcibly stolen her research. Anyway, we can't ignore it, we must help them. Banner said. Although it is very reluctant, for the sake of world peace, we can only help them clean up the mess. Stark's idea is the same as Banner's. However, the key to all of this lies in Wu Chen. Only Wu Chen's big clock holds the precise data of everyone. That is to say, only Wu Chen can accurately find out the identity information of each Hydra and their location. The S.H.I.E.L.D. thing has nothing to do with me. Wu Chen spoke, but what he meant was clearly that he didn't want to help. Don't you care if the whole world is going to fall into chaos? Stark pressed. Then when the world is really in chaos, you can ask me again. Wu Chen's attitude is clear, he just doesn't want to care. The big clock, the pause data shows that all information related to Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. is not accessible to anyone but me. Wu Chen said, but turned around and left the research room. Wu Chen's approach is obviously that neither Stark nor Banner agrees. I can't stand by, I have to go see if I can help. Stark said. But now, we don't have the relevant data, how can we help without knowing who Hydra is? After Banner finished speaking, he went on to say. Also, Hulk is now almost obedient to Wu Chen's words. Once on the battlefield, I can't help. Hulk. Stark looked at Banner and then at the research institute. A sense of crisis arose in his heart. He realized that the existence of Wu Chen was not necessarily a guarantee. Banner, follow me. After Stark finished speaking, without waiting for Banner to answer, he pulled up Banner and left the research room together. In the laboratory on the second floor, Wu Chen had already seen them leave. They left this time, probably to get the Ultron system. The voice of the super gene system sounded in Wu Chen's mind. Stark and Fury actually have many similarities, and his idea of putting armor on the Earth has already sprouted in his heart. Wu Chen said. Then he didn't act before because he saw your strength, right? Said the genetic system. Maybe, maybe not, but today, he should think that I am different from them, so he thought about restarting that plan. Wu Chen said. Then what's on your mind? The genetic system asked. My goal is eternity, immortality and immortality. Those other things have nothing to do with me directly. As Wu Chen said, he had already opened the operation interface and started his further research on super god technology. But, you are alone too. The genetic system only said this sentence, and chose to remain silent. But this sentence also stirred in Wu Chen's heart. He is human too, although in this life, he has the plug-in of the big clock just after his arrival. But in the more than 20 years of his last life, he was still an ordinary person, and the memories of those 20 years are still preserved. As an ordinary person, it is impossible to have no desires, and it is impossible to be completely free from the world. For the next few days, the atmosphere on the island was quiet. Banner was taken to the Stark building by Stark. Foster and Daisy seemed to realize that at the moment is not right and stay in the room to concentrate on their research. Outside the island, S.H.I.E.L.D. Neither Stark nor Banner was involved, but Rogers and Natasha Romanoff were at the heart of the event. In addition, an additional Falcon, Sam, was added. Without Wu Chen's assistance, Fury couldn't directly find all the hidden Hydra in S.H.I.E.L.D. In the end, as a last resort, he could only publish all the confidential files of S.H.I.E.L.D., which naturally included Hydras. The 3 helicouriers that flew to the sky were destroyed, and the S.H.I.E.L.D. was completely disbanded. Fury was angry, but there was nothing he could do, because he knew that he couldn't blame Wu Chen. After that, Wu Chen received the latest report from the Big Clock. Since Wu Chen established this institute, the Big Clock has been doing one thing, that is, exploring the entire universe. Now, the results of the initial exploration are in. What did you say? You have found the silver mine. Wu Chen stood up excitedly. Yes, although its location is very secret, there is accurate information about the dark silver in the Big Clock. After comparison, it is determined that it is the silver mine. The genetic system answered. This is great. With Suyanwu, we can start to build a real god-killing martial arts. Wu Chen seemed a little excited, because the existence of dark silver was too important to Wu Chen. With the dark silver, Wu Chen can then build a really powerful weapon. Not only the attack power, but also the convenience of operation, etc., as long as there is a dark silver, and based on this to create a silver weapon. Then, in this universe, there is really no one who can easily threaten Wu Chen. In addition, the Big Clock has found some dark iron elements in the universe, and the axe and dark alloy armor can also be built. For Wu Chen, the information reported by the genetic system this time was a series of good news. Dark silver and dark iron elements, these are all extremely important materials in the super god universe. However, these dark silver and dark iron elements are in an unmined state. Next, I'm afraid you have to go to mine them yourself. The genetic system warned. Mining, as long as there is, it is better than nothing. Wu Chen said. This is a huge project. From mining to building, I am afraid it will take a lot of time. The genetic system continues to remind. There is nothing in this world that can be done overnight. Wu Chen said. Okay, then I will immediately calculate the space wormhole leading to the location of the silver mine. After the genetic system finished speaking, it immediately controlled the Big Clock and started the program. The mining of dark silver and dark iron elements is actually not a very difficult project. But this takes some time to complete. Wu Chen went across the wormhole, and when he returned after mining, 2 or 3 months had passed. After that, he began to immerse himself in R&D and manufacturing, and it took a lot of time. During this time, Hulk came back, and Thor finally came to Earth from Asgard. But these two people only met Wu Chen in a hurry, and couldn't even say a word. In the end, Hulk had to go with Thor to the Stark building. Thor's real purpose in returning to Earth this time is actually to find a spiritual scepter. After S.H.I.E.L.D. disbanded, Odin had noticed the situation in Asgard. In order to prevent the psychic scepter from being used by the bad guys, Odin asks Thor to come and get the scepter back. So, Thor, along with the other Avengers, began the process of finding the psychic scepter. On the 3rd floor of the Research Institute, Wu Chen is building a god-killing martial art. The timeline has changed. The voice of the genetic system came. TIE particles were taken away by me, and Fury also knew in advance that there was Hydra's whereabouts in S.H.I.E.L.D. The timeline has changed, which is a matter of course. Wu Chen said. The big events on Earth are still happening, but the time has moved forward. The genetic system warned. How much earlier? Wu Chen asked. Almost a year. And what about extraterrestrial events? How's the situation with my big clock monitoring? At present, the whereabouts of the Thanos fleet has not been locked, and the information related to the cosmic spirit sphere has also been scanned, but the big clock has received some signals from the Nova Empire. Then continue to search. We have to control all kinds of information in the entire universe in real time. Wu Chen said. He knows the importance of intelligence. Especially in this situation, because of his arrival, the timeline has been changed. Thor's mother Scarlet is not dead. Odin did not lose his strength due to this heavy blow. Loki is also being held in Asgard's prison. These seem to be related only to Thor 2's plot. But in fact, Odin is still there. It is enough to affect the entire universe. In this state, it is still unknown whether Thanos would dare to go directly to Nidavellir and let King Dwarf build the Infinity Gauntlet and the Tyrant Butcher knife for him. The latest information, the Avengers, have obtained the Psychic Scepter. Gene System said. A projected picture has also appeared in front of Wu Chen. That's an image of Stark finding the Psychic Scepter in Hydra's base. What about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver? Wu Chen asked. But at the moment, he saw the figure of Scarlet Witch. The Scarlet Witch, who appeared silently behind Stark, her magic, began to invade Stark's brain. A full year ahead of schedule, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver successfully completed the experiment and gained their respective super abilities. Wu Chen has been too focused on the creation of god-killing martial arts during this time, but he has not noticed that the two brothers and sisters have already obtained ability. In your memory, Scarlet Witch will become a destructive existence in the future. The genetic system warned. Then find a way to make her on our side. Wu Chen knew that the existence of Scarlet Witch was a threat. A more terrifying threat than Thanos. But it's not difficult to solve this threat, as long as she doesn't fall in love with Vision, or in the end she doesn't go crazy because of Vision's death, then nothing will happen. There are still a few days at most, and both Ultron and Vision should be manufactured. Before that, we have to complete the configuration of the God Killer. Wu Chen turned off the surveillance screen. His agreement with Ancient One is that he cannot interfere with the birth of new life, Ultron and Vision, so as long as Vision is created, then he can justifiably take action to get that mind gem. But at that time, I am afraid that everything will not be so smooth. In order to deal with the various situations that may arise, he must be fully prepared. Meanwhile, on the Hydra base, everything is going according to the original situation. Stark took the Psychic Scepter, and after the Avengers returned to the Stark building, there was a big party. During the party, Stark and Banner were developing Ultron, then Ultron's program, attacking Jarvis, and successfully taking the Mind Scepter from the Stark building, began to implement the plan to create a new body using Vibranium. All these changes are under the monitoring of the Big Clock. But at the same time, it's all under the watchful eye of the Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One. Finally, the day has come. Ancient One sighed. Through her own strength, she made an agreement with Wu Chen, and now the agreement is about to expire. She is worried that Wu Chen will be able to have no scruples after that. Because she couldn't predict where the world would go after this. In the Stark building, all the Avengers are present except Natasha Romanoff. Everyone was watching Vision, who was completely awakened by Thor's lightning strike. This world is amazing. Vision sighed. This world is far more cruel than you think. Before the Avengers could speak, Wu Chen's voice appeared in everyone's ears. Wu Chen, at this moment, is standing opposite Vision. The glass disappeared, and the mind gem on Vision's head was also shining. Are you here for it? When Vision said this, he pointed at the mind gem on his forehead. Since you already know, how do you plan to deal with it? Wu Chen asked back. Do not know, Vision answered. Wu Chen. Thor stepped forward. Vision was finally awakened by him, and he was actually very concerned about Vision's situation. Wu Chen, you don't want to help us protect the Earth, that's your business, but please don't interfere with us. Stark spoke rudely. Part of the initial reason why he decided to create Ultron and now Vision was because of Wu Chen. Since you don't know, then come with me. Wu Chen said. He directly ignored Thor and Stark. No, I still have my mission. I have to get Ultron out of the network. This is something only I can do. Vision said. Isn't that just removing Ultron from the network? You don't need to do that. Wu Chen said. The data of the big clock began to quickly synchronize the entire Earth network. In just a few seconds, all data and information attached to the global network by Ultron were wiped clean. Vision can also access the global network, so he is very aware of the status quo in the network. This sudden feeling that the network data of Ultron, who had been evenly matched with him, had been cleared, was as if the other party never existed at all. How can that be? Vision looked at Wu Chen in disbelief. Ultron's data has already invaded all network systems on the Earth, and in order to prevent this, he has also hidden a lot of data in various secret documents. How can you forcefully remove it without touching its body? Vision's words were heard by everyone around. Stark and Banner are both scientists, and they both understand what this means. How I did it, you don't need to know. Wu Chen said, and then asked again. Now, can you come with me? Since you have completed the job that belongs to me, I will follow your instructions. Vision has seen the strength of Wu Chen, and his first mission after birth has been completed. Wanda, Pilcher, you two come with me too. Wu Chen turned his head to look at Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. No, we've seen a vision of Ultron, he's going to destroy the entire planet, and we can't just walk away at this time. Scarlet Witch said. Then if I destroy Ultron, will you two brothers and sisters be willing to follow me in the future? Wu Chen continued to ask. You want? Stark was about to speak, but suddenly he was surrounded by a burst of energy, and his voice could not be uttered at all. The other Avengers around, seeing such a situation, are all tense. However, at a critical moment, Banner hurried to stop it. He knows Wu Chen's strength too well, and he also knows that Wu Chen is not a bad person. Although Wu Chen's actions are very strong and domineering in today's situation, Banner believes that there should be a reason for this. The people we have followed in the past will lead us to do evil, and now, we want to return to a way of life. Scarlet Witch said, you can rest assured that I will not force you to do anything, or even restrict your freedom, but only if you live with me. Wu Chen doesn't want forced control, he wants Scarlet Witch not to jump out of his controllable range. As long as Scarlet Witch doesn't become that terrifying monster infected by the Dark Book, what she does is not very important to Wu Chen. That seems a bit contradictory, doesn't it? Quicksilver said. You asked us to follow you, while saying that you would not restrict our freedom. If you follow me voluntarily, isn't all this contradictory? Wu Chen said. He's giving Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver a choice. You have to think about it. If I come forward, all dangers will be eliminated, but if I don't intervene, if you go by yourself, it will be a fierce battle. Wu Chen reminded. Well, if you really won't force us to do things we don't want to do, then we're willing to follow you. Scarlet Witch finally made a choice. She is in the lineup against Ultron now, but the relationship between her and the Avengers is not particularly good. In this case, it is not difficult for her to make this decision. Okay, then you come with me. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he turned around and entered the wormhole. Vision walked in first, followed by Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who looked at each other again. The first floor of the Research Institute, the research room. Wu Chen, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver and Vision are already here. The Avengers at the moment have all arrived at the Institute. Although they have great opinions on Wuchen now, they are still worried, because Wuchen took 3 extremely important people with him this time. Also, Mind Gem is on Vision's head. All of them now know about Infinite Gems because of Thor. Every time Infinite Gems is born, it will bring about a disaster. The first 2 times they passed smoothly, but this time, the problem has not been solved. Large clock showing Ultron's location. Wuchen said. A holographic projection began to appear in the center of the research room. Sokovia. Both Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver had ugly expressions on their faces. Although the 2 of them have no other relatives, Sokovia is still where they were born. The picture changes, and in the underground of Sokovia, it is the busy Ultron. Are those Vibraniums? Stark looked at Ultron, who was building a new body, and couldn't help but ask. Big Clock, analyze the machine next to it. Wuchen's attention was not on the body Ultron was building, but on a strange machine not far away. An anti-gravity device, built on the basis of vibranium, that can lift the entire Sokovia into the sky. The voice of the genetic system came, and all the Avengers were stunned when they heard it. That's Ultron's plan. What he wants is to send Sokovia high into the sky and then drop it. Scarlet Witch had snooped into Ultron's mind, so he vaguely remembered the plan. We must act now, or the entire planet will be wiped out. Stark said, turned and wanted to leave. But the Banner of at the moment was motionless. Hulk, he wants to come out. Banner said. What did you say? Hulk, he. Rogers looked at Banner nervously. The last time I was affected, Hulk was born, and Hulk, who had already coexisted peacefully with me, suffered a blow. Now that he came back here and saw Wuchen, he was a little out of control. Banner explained his current state, and then, the body began to change. In order to maintain a peaceful relationship with Hulk, he cannot forcefully suppress Hulk at this time. After Hulk appeared, he ignored anyone and walked directly to Wuchen. Brother, I was bullied, you avenge me. Hulk's words stunned the powerful Avengers who had seen Hulk but had never seen Wuchen's action. So did Rogers, Barton, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver. Who bullied you? Wuchen asked. She, and him. Hulk pointed at Scarlet Witch, then at Stark. The 2 people Hulk pointed to were all nervous. Wanda was the enemy in front of you, but now she is my subordinate, can you turn the fight into jade? Wuchen said. Oh, were you taken in? Hulk glanced at Scarlet Witch. Okay, since it's the elder brother's subordinate, it will be my subordinate in the future, so I won't have the same knowledge as him. Hulk said, but his eyes turned to Stark. Hulk, that's not my fault. You lost control yourself. I beat you with Veronica just to calm you down. Stark doesn't want to mess with Hulk either. Veronica was made by Banner and Stark together. It seems inappropriate that you only hit him. Wuchen said. Then what? I can't be beaten, can I? Hulk was a little unhappy. Then otherwise, you don't have to change back for the next month, and it's not even the time you 2 agreed before. Wuchen said. No, it will take 2 months. Hulk bargained. Okay, then 2 months. Wuchen agreed immediately. Hulk's anger subsided when he saw that his request had been fulfilled. However, the conversation between the 2 made the audience dumbfounded. Hulk recognized himself as a younger brother in front of Wuchen, and he really obeyed Wuchen. The strongest combat power among the Avengers was now Wuchen's younger brother, which was a huge amount of blow to the Avengers. I see that you haven't moved your hands and feet much recently. Would you like to find someone to fight with me? Wuchen asked. It is good, Hulk answered excitedly. Let's go then, Wuchen said, and opened the wormhole with a wave of his hand. Wuchen crossed the wormhole first, and when he reappeared, it was exactly what was shown on the holographic diffraction pattern in the research room, the Sokovia underground base where Ultron was located. Ultron, who was building a new body, was surprised at this moment. All the Ultrons around, the robots controlled by Ultron, at the moment, all gathered together to protect the body that was being built and the anti-gravity device that was being built. There is half the world between the island where the Institute is located and Sokovia. But at this moment, there is only 1 step away from the research room to Ultron's underground base. Should we go over? Scarlet Witch asked. Go, definitely go, if the 2 of them can't figure it out, we can help. Rogers said, and then walked into the wormhole first. With 1 person taking the lead, the other Avengers follow, one by one. Underground in Sokovia, in this base that Ultron occupies at the moment. The group of Avengers were all there, but Ultron cared about only one person. The one who stood in front of everyone and entered the base first. Wu Chen, didn't you never get involved with the Avengers? Ultron looked at Wu Chen. He already knew that Wu Chen was very strong, but in the data he got, Wu Chen didn't act with the Avengers, and even when the Avengers were messed up, Wu Chen didn't take action. In the information Ultron read from JARVIS, it was clearly recorded that Wu Chen did not like to be a nosy. But now, Wu Chen is here. You are going to destroy all creatures on the earth. Do you think it has nothing to do with me? Wu Chen asked back, and his words left Ultron speechless. He suddenly realized why the information he had stored on the internet disappeared all of a sudden. Why did Wu Chen suddenly appear when his preparations were almost finished? It turned out that he had overlooked one point when he was doing all this planning. Wu Chen can monitor the global network at any time. He can even accurately understand the information of everyone on the earth and what he is doing. If I abandon the original plan now, can you not interfere in the grudge between me and the Avengers? Ultron is too direct. Those Avengers who fought against Ultron, seeing Ultron, who used to be confident in front of them, is now so humble in front of Wu Chen, they all feel unbelievable. The arrows have been shot, can they be retrieved again? Wu Chen didn't answer, but instead asked Ultron. The arrow has to be fired on the string, not to mention the arrow has left the string. It seems that all this is destined to have no room to turn around. Ultron sighed with emotion, but the next moment, the body of Ultron that was being built suddenly stood up. Then, let us speak according to our strength and ability. Well, come on, don't you just want to delay until the completion of your new body? Wu Chen nodded. He knew that Ultron was waiting for the Vibranium body to complete, but at the moment, he didn't care at all. Then you can die. After Ultron finished speaking, all the dozens of robots around rushed up at once. Their targets are Wu Chen, and as the main body of Ultron, the robot made by Vibranium turned around and rushed to the location of the anti-gravity device. Let's go together, Rogers shouted, and all the Avengers had already rushed out. However, before they could do it, those robots suddenly fell to the ground in unison. At their chests, a silver sharp knife suddenly appeared. All the robots, all the Ultron robots that were preparing to attack Wu Chen, were all scrapped in an instant. The silver blade is really useful. Wu Chen sighed with emotion. The sharp knives that emerged from those Ultron robots were exactly the silver blades Wu Chen made of dark silver. In the database of the big clock, there are details of the silver blade. After Wu Chen got the dark silver, he built these silver blades for the first time, and they were based on imitating Keisha's silver wings. You know, the silver blade can be solved directly in the body of the second generation or even the third generation of super soldiers. Even Morgana, who has the fourth generation divine body, will still suffer a lot of damage after being attacked by Keisha's silver wings, and even fatal in severe cases. Therefore, as far as the robots in front of them are concerned, Wu Chen needs to solve the silver blade directly in their bodies, which is simply an easy task. Brother, I was wrong. Ultron knelt down immediately. It's not that he is cowardly, but that Wu Chen is too scary. This invisible but directly fatal attack is simply not something that can be dealt with by a large number of people. Also, when Ultron tried to escape from Sokovia with one of the farthest duplications, the duplication was cut in two by a flying dart that appeared out of nowhere. In other words, all of Ultron's robot duplications were locked by Wu Chen. Wu Chen could wipe out Ultron in one breath if he wanted to. You can't do it over and over again, it's useless to admit counseling. Wu Chen said, walking towards Ultron's main body step by step. Since it's useless, Ultron stood up, and at the same time, a robot, carrying Black Widow Natasha Romanoff came out. This is his last bargaining chip, and all he wants is one, so that he can live. Ultron appeared with Natasha Romanoff on his back. His intention was obvious, and he wanted to use Natasha Romanoff as a hostage in exchange for his own life. Ah, Wu Chen let out a long sigh. This Ultron is really cheap. Wu Chen sighed in his heart. Then you can't blame him, who told you to restrain him everywhere? Said the genetic system. It's not like Stark's style of admitting cowardice. Ultron was created by him, and it should have inherited Stark's characteristics. Wu Chen said, I analyzed the data, and when creating Ultron, Banner and Stark added information about you. The super gene system continued. Later, when Ultron attacked Jarvis and hacked its database, he found documents related to your battle with the Dark Elves and discovered your strength. So, from the beginning, Ultron was afraid of you. After listening to the situation reported by the genetic system, Wu Chen also understood the reason for all this. A super advanced artificial intelligence system originally built with the most cutting-edge technology, but found that the technology it masters is far less than that of a person who already exists. This gap created Ultron's lack of confidence when facing Wu Chen. Ultron was a failure from the start. Wu Chen said so in his heart, and then turned his attention back to his eyes. Wu Chen, as long as you let me go, I will never hurt Natasha Romanoff. Ultron said. He was using Natasha Romanoff as the last straw. Alas, it's too cheap. Wu Chen sighed helplessly again. Let it go or not. If you don't let it go, I'll kill her right away. Ultron said. Hundreds of robots were already surrounding him. These robots surrounded Ultron's body in the center, and they were preventing Wu Chen from suddenly attacking and saving Natasha Romanoff. She's dead or not, and it has nothing to do with me. Don't you think it's ridiculous that you use her to threaten me? Wu Chen said. What did you say? You say you don't care if Natasha Romanoff lives or dies. Ultron was clearly in disbelief. If you don't believe it, you can do it now, and I will never stop it. Wu Chen still looked disapproving. Then I can. And many more. Before Ultron's words were finished, the Avengers couldn't sit still. Wu Chen and Natasha Romanoff have a bad relationship, which the Avengers can understand. But for the Avengers, Natasha Romanoff was an integral part of them. The original 6 Avengers, when they fought in New York, were good brothers who lived and died together. What, are you really going to let Ultron leave? Wu Chen turned his head to look at Rogers and Stark and others. If Ultron is allowed to leave, then he will inevitably hide in the future and continue to grow himself. When we meet again in the future, I am afraid it will be another catastrophe. Vision is a robot. Although he already has human-like feelings, he has just been born at the moment, so naturally he doesn't have too many other thoughts. According to Vision's intuitive judgment, Ultron was absolutely unable to escape. He's right. If Ultron is let go, then the Earth will never be peaceful in the future. Although Natasha Romanoff is being held hostage by Ultron, her mind is clear. But how can we let you be killed? Barton said he had the best relationship with Natasha Romanoff of those people. After all, Barton and Natasha Romanoff have known each other longer than any of the other Avengers. After Ultron was created, he has always wanted to kill all human beings. Today, although he is forced to do nothing because of Wu Chen's relationship, once he leaves, he will definitely find ways to realize this plan in the future. What Natasha Romanoff said silenced the Avengers. The Avengers were created to fight against enemies who wanted to destroy the Earth and harm humanity. At the very beginning, each of them was prepared to sacrifice himself. But it is really unacceptable for them to watch other people being killed by others, but they are indifferent. Why are you so provocative? Wu Chen couldn't stand it any longer. With this wave of his hand, Natasha Romanoff, who was originally held by Ultron, disappeared. This scene appeared too suddenly. The Avengers, Ultron, Vision, and others, were all dumbfounded. The next moment, Natasha Romanoff reappeared, and she came to the side of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Natasha Romanoff is also confused. It's a wormhole. Wu Chen used the wormhole to directly relocate Natasha Romanoff. Stark remembered the previous scene where Wu Chen directly removed the things in the Stark building. Wu Chen was initially noticed by people, wasn't it because of the ability to transfer items out of thin air? Okay, you don't have the last chip left, you can die obediently. Wu Chen looked at Ultron, and his words seemed like the final verdict to Ultron. At this moment, Ultron dared not have the slightest hesitation. Half of the hundreds of Ultron robots rushed towards Wu Chen. The remaining half, all scattered at this moment, fled towards the base. Hulk, you go. Wu Chen turned his head to look at Hulk. Hulk was originally going to fight with Wu Chen, but with Wu Chen's permission, he immediately began to run wild. Those Ultron robots that rushed up were all caught up in the battle with Hulk. Wu Chen stood there, but the big clock started to lock, the whereabouts of all the robots around who were trying to escape. In his hand, a black sniper rifle changed. That was God's punishment, a flame-level sniper rifle specially made by the Black Great Wall for Kylin in the Super God universe. It can use both the God-killing number 1 bullet and the flame-level armor-piercing bullet. At this moment, Wu Chen held a sharp gun and aimed forward. The big clock locked the location of the escaped Ultrons. The wormhole is open. Boom. Gunshots sounded, a golden bullet whizzed out, and then disappeared into the wormhole. But then, inside the city of Sokovia outside this underground base, a Ultron robot that was running away was easily penetrated by a bullet, the most critical core component in the chest. Immediately after, the bullet disappeared into the wormhole again after passing through the Ultron robot. For the next dozen or so seconds, the bullet constantly shifted its position. The flame-level armor-piercing projectile, its power, allows it to easily penetrate the steel on those Ultron robots. When the bullet returned to Wu Chen again, dozens of Ultron robots outside had all been killed. As for their bodies, they were naturally shifted by the big clock. Inside the base, the Avengers looked at the bullets that were shot by Wu Chen and then came back here, all at a loss. But soon, Stark's artificial intelligence system, word came on Friday. In the city of Sokovia, some people saw Ultron robots, but those Ultron robots were suddenly shot through the heart by a golden light, and then disappeared. With this news, and with the reappearance of the bullet in front of us, we can understand what is going on. This is too terrifying, isn't it? His ability is invisible, so who would dare to offend him in the future? Barton muttered behind Rogers and Stark. It's really terrifying. The attack power of that bullet is definitely not weak, and it appears out of nowhere. If he wants to, he will kill whoever he wants on this earth, and it is impossible to prevent. Stark said, if people like this have evil thoughts in their hearts, the earth will be finished. Rogers followed Stark's words. So, it's better not to provoke him in the future. Thor reminds. At the same time, Wu Chen was putting away the divine punishment. Haha, you really scared them. The voice of the super gene system sounded in Wu Chen's mind. This scene reminds me involuntarily of a picture that appeared when I was watching Super Seminary. Wu Chen glanced at the Avengers. You're talking about the scene where Morgana's demon army wiped out the Hateful Alliance. The super gene system was talking, but Wu Chen smiled knowingly after hearing it. Although, that is a joke in the animation of Super Seminary. But in fact, if it does come to reality, the Avengers face the demon army, the result will be the same. These so-called Avengers have no way to fight against wormhole tactics and god-killing bullets. You must know that even the strongest Hulk and Thor may not be able to withstand the attack of the God-Killer number 1 projectile, and it is even more impossible for the other Avengers to resist. Maybe the Marvel movie universe has a lot of powers that even the Marvel universe doesn't have. But when it comes to war, the super warriors of the Super God universe can absolutely crush the vast majority of people in the Marvel movie universe so far. Because, the super warriors of the Super God universe know how to use their own advantages better. As time passed, the battle between Hulk and the dozens of Ultron robots in front of him had also come to an end. Although Ultron has a large number of people, these are all scrap metal in Hulk's hands, and they can't help but fight. In the end, all that was left was the Ultron body made of Vibranium. Hulk's strength is very strong, but his attack failed to directly break Ultron's defense and kill him completely. This body is really hard, Hulk said, but his fist continued to slam into Ultron's body incessantly. At the moment, Ultron is actually desperate. Although with the strength of Vibranium, he withstood Hulk's attack, but in the current situation, he couldn't defeat Hulk, and he couldn't escape at all. Wu Chen was still watching, and there were so many Avengers. It seemed that no matter what happened to him, the result would be a dead end. You are deceiving people too much. Ultron whimpered, terrified by Hulk's attack. Almost there, Hulk, Wu Chen said, and Hulk at the moment finally stopped. Wu Chen slowly came to Hulk's side, and the two looked at the last remaining Ultron together. What do you want? Do you really want to kill me? Ultron said. At the moment he had no idea of continuing to fight, because he knew that he couldn't escape if he couldn't fight. If you already know the ending, why struggle so hard? Wu Chen said. I only know now that everything was under your control from the beginning. Ultron said. At the moment he was sitting cross-legged on the ground, like a dead pig not afraid of boiling water. You have the ability to monitor the world, and everything on this earth is under your control. I should have thought of this when I went to Ulysses to buy Vibranium. Ulysses. When Wu Chen heard the name, he finally remembered something related to it. You took Vibranium from him, but you deliberately left more than half of it for me. You actually knew for a long time that I wanted to use Vibranium to build vision, so you left it on purpose, right? Ultron asked. Well, good guess, I did leave those Vibraniums for you on purpose. Wu Chen didn't hide anything. In fact, at the moment, Wu Chen has no need to hide anything from anyone. Since the upgrade of the third generation, since the dark iron element and the dark silver element have been obtained to create a god-killing weapon, Wu Chen has no scruples on this earth. Even if it is Ancient One, Wu Chen is confident, and she can no longer suppress herself. That idiot Ulysses, he thought that as long as he leaked the news of your taking Vibranium to Wakanda's people, those people would find you to vent his anger for him, but it turned out that he sent you more Vibranium. Quote. Ultron laughed, but he was actually laughing at himself. Why didn't he understand this at the time? If Ultron at the time could have thought of this, then he could have thought that Wu Chen was in control from the start. If he had known this earlier, he would have come up with a better plan to deal with the current situation. Ulysses didn't go wrong in his plan, he really was the one who brought me Wakanda, and at least he did it better than you. Wu Chen said, but those Wakanda people can't threaten you at all, so his plan is successful or not, it's the same. Ultron would not admit that he was worse than Ulysses. But at least he has self-knowledge and knows that he can't provoke me, but you are different. You have to involve me in your plan. Wu Chen said, Humph, you humans are all the same. Only by destroying all of you can we robot lifeforms finally become the masters of this planet. Ultron snorted coldly. His original plan was not aimed at Wu Chen, but he aimed at all mankind. It just happens that Wu Chen is also a human being, living on Earth, so Wu Chen is also involved. Well, the wish is very good. Wu Chen nodded. Then, take your good wishes and go to another world to realize them. After Wu Chen finished speaking, he swiped his right hand forward, and a red scratch appeared on Ultron's body. The body forged by Vibranium was directly slashed. Ultron, as a robot lifeform, his life will end here. Big Clock, recover all Ultron robots, just as we are going to build a spaceship next, we are short of materials. Wu Chen said, and the big clock immediately started to operate. Those Ultron robots scattered in the basin in the city outside Sokovia began to be quickly transferred to the Institute by the big clock using the micro-wormhole transport technology. At the same time, a new project has begun. It was a spaceship that Wu Chen had prepared for the next space voyage. Although the external exploration of the big clock has been going on, and it has been explored billions of light years away at this stage. But the universe is vast, and the scope of this exploration is still not enough. At least, the specific coordinate information of the cosmic spiritual ball that Wu Chen needs to find, the big clock has not yet been determined. Although Wu Chen knew that the cosmic spirit ball was on a planet called Morag, Wu Chen did not have the specific coordinate information of that planet. Without specific coordinate information, there is no way to open the wormhole directly. Therefore, Wu Chen needs a spaceship. Only by going to explore it himself and enriching the database of the big clock can he truly achieve unimpeded access in this universe in the future. You guys, come back with me. Wu Chen turned to look at Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and Vision. These three people are now in awe of Wu Chen, and they dare not question Wu Chen's words at all. What Wu Chen said, they did. So, Wu Chen returned to the Institute with the three of them and Hulk. As for the other Avengers, they were left in place. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.